Chapter 853. Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged. The surrounding illusory dark world was appearing time after time. Occasionally, it would tremble and be destroyed. As time passed, the illusory dark world that appeared became more stable. It is quite complicated. The closer I am to mastering it, the more profound the structure of this dark world becomes. Dongbua Shuang praised in his heart. The reason for the existence of the dark world was for the final destruction. The more stable it was, the stronger the energy it contained would be, and the greater the final destruction power would be. Dongbua Shuang continued to ponder over the parts that he had doubts about. Gradually, the doubts he had towards this style were lessening. Finally, Dongbua Shuang felt everything becoming clear. He understood the first style of dark world, the dark bubble. He no longer had any doubts. I have succeeded. Dongbua Shuang looked at the Chiya incense wood walls in a daze. A faint fragrance permeated into his nose. I have mastered the first style of dark world just like this. Dongbua Shuang felt slightly dazed. He had expected this moment. But after grasping the mirage origin and stepping into the unity realm, he still felt complicated when he mastered this style. Because he understood what it meant to comprehend this style. This absolute art had a total of 2 styles. Grasping the first style was sufficient for one to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. He would be a true heaven-defying expert at the unity realm. Even if he faced the true body of a primal chaos giant, he would still be able to survive. He would definitely be considered an ultra-strong expert in the entire 5 great sacred worlds. Against other Unity Realm experts, even peak Unity Realm experts, he would be able to sweep through them. The 5th level would allow him to reach the boundary of the Primal Chaos Realm, and he would be closer to a true Primal Chaos Giant. Previously, I might have the Black Gourd, but firstly, I have to pull out the cork to release the fireball. This requires an extremely short period of time. If an extremely powerful expert were to ambush me, this short period of time would suffice. Shuang was clear of this point. The protective treasure was ultimately not a product of one's own comprehension, and thus had some flaws. Furthermore, even though its power is strong, its combat techniques are too weak. It is purely a smash word. If I meet an expert who got through the 5th level of Star Pagoda, he could easily toy with me. His strength was too great, but his cultivation was too low. That was his previous weakness. Only the strongest sacred emissary in this base of the ancient sacred religion was only at the peak of the unity realm. Only then would he be able to unleash the full might of the Black Gourd Fireball. If he encountered someone stronger, the Black Gourd Fireball might not even be able to touch the enemy. Now, I've made up for it in terms of cultivation level. Dongbua Shuang revealed a smile. Dongbua Shuang tapped lightly with his finger. Who? An illusory bubble of darkness appeared on his fingertip. This bubble of darkness was several meters in diameter. Then, it materialized. When it materialized, it naturally needed to absorb the power of the world around it. Then, it rapidly shrank and exploded. However, it was only the space inside the bubble that exploded. The void shattered and turned pitch black. This was the saint's realm. How stable was the void? It was still shattered. Even though the amount of power of the heaven and earth swept up is very little, with the help of the dark bubble, the power of this explosion is still much stronger than my previous spear art. Dongbua Shuang was merely practicing. He did not use his full power yet. If he were to use his full power, he would need to sweep up a sufficient amount of power of the heaven and earth. The commotion would be too great. It has been over 8,000 years since I finished eating the supplementary spiritual fruit. Dongbua Shuang could feel the coldness of his soul. The unique energy of the fruit had yet to be exhausted. I have to hurry up and comprehend Walker's hidden secret. Dongbua Shuang was unwilling to waste the duration of the fruit's energy. He was still some distance away from reaching the unity realm in his Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripples. Comparatively speaking, he was much closer to breaking through in Walker's hidden secret. Indeed. At this moment, his soul at the unity realm was much stronger than before. After eating the fruit and with the assistance of the chia incense wood chamber, his cultivation speed was indeed extremely fast. In just 300 years, Dongbu Shuang broke through to the 30th level of Walker's hidden secret. Following that, another 600 years passed. Dongbu Shuang abruptly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with helplessness and regret. In the end, it was exhausted. The energy of the supplementary spiritual fruit is finally exhausted. The days of rapid cultivation are over. The moment that coldness disappeared, Dongbu Shuang felt his soul's comprehension speed plummeting. This feeling of loss was truly unbearable. Not bad. The effects of this fruit are indeed great. Dongbu Shuang was rather satisfied. It has lasted for a total of 9,000 years. Previously, I was at the origin birth realm. Now, I am at the unity realm. After eating this fruit, my energy would naturally be depleted quickly. If Jing Qiu and Yu were to eat it, their souls would be much weaker than mine. Thus, the rate of depletion would be much slower. Furthermore, the effects would only be better. In summary, items that could assist in cultivation did have the effect of increasing one's perception. The only flaw was that the duration was short. However, during these 9,000 years of cultivation, Dongbu Shuang estimated that if he were to stay in the Palace of Time, he would probably need 1 or 2 billion years to break through to the unity realm in his Tao of Mirage. After that, he would need another 1 or 2 billion years to grasp the dark bubble. After tasting the taste of items that could assist in cultivation, he wasn't used to cultivating slowly. The stronger I am, the weaker the effects of items that could assist in cultivation. Dongbu Shuang thought, when I ate the supplementary spiritual fruit at the origin birth realm, I felt that it was extremely helpful. But after stepping into the unity realm, when I was comprehending the dark bubble, I felt that the effects of the supplementary spiritual fruit had weakened. If I were at the primal chaos realm, the effects would be much weaker. At the very least, it would be slightly useful to those at the primal chaos realm. But to cosmos gods, it was completely useless. Even if he ate it, it would be a waste. In addition, items that could assist in cultivation were too precious and expensive. Hence, it was normal for cultivators to spend a long period of time cultivating. Usually, only during crucial moments like reaching a bottleneck when comprehending an absolute art or when a primal chaos giant would spend a few hundred origin world rocks to purchase some precious items to assist in cultivation. But in the end, the cultivator might still be unable to break through. Items that could assist in cultivation were not omnipotent. Dongbu Shuang was indeed talented in the Tao of Mirage. That was why he could achieve such miraculous effects. Even if he did not eat the fruit, he could still achieve it by spending more time. Outside the Chia incense wood cultivation room. Jia. The door opened. The white-robed Dongbu Shuang walked out from within. Pavilion Master Yu Qi was currently waiting for him outside. Just nice 100,000 years. Elder Dongbu is in a rush to enter closed-door cultivation, and I believe you should have a huge harvest. Pavilion Master Yu Qi was still passionately praising Dongbu Shuang, but suddenly, his expression froze. He said with slight astonishment, Elder Dongbu, you have reached the unity realm. Dongbu Shuang revealed a grin. He only came out after accumulating 100,000 years because he required an origin world rock to cultivate for 100,000 years. If he did not cultivate for 100,000 years, he would have to pay 1 origin world rock. Congratulations, congratulations. Pavilion Master Yu Qi said, congratulations to Elder Dongbu for stepping into the unity realm so quickly. I believe you should be able to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda soon. But what he did not know was that the current Dongbu Shuang already had the strength to get through the 5th level. Chapter 854. The short and fat man, Forefather Black Loath, could clearly sense that Dongbu Shuang had walked out of the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion and was strolling leisurely on the streets. He was no longer in a hurry. After all, he, Forefather Black Loath, would only be able to unleash his full strength if he had time to prepare. Unity Realm? Forefather Black Loth frowned slightly. No wonder he stayed in the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion for 100,000 years. So it seems that he has comprehended something and broke through to the Unity Realm. This Dongbui Shuang is really a genius. His cultivation speed is quite fast too. If given more time, after he breaks through to the Unity Realm, he could consolidate his realm and comprehend absolute arts to increase his strength. He might even be able to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. That would be troublesome. Now. Forefather He Yan's eyes were filled with coldness. Forefather Black Loth didn't care about the fact that he had just broken through and had yet to convert his realm into strength. Only 100,000 years. Time was too short. The 7-star Oceanic Pavilion did not have the ability to accelerate time like the Palace of Time. Even if one ate some treasures that could aid in cultivation, it would be impossible to improve so much in a short 100,000 years. However, Forefather Black Loth did not expect Dongbui Shuang to be so talented in the Tao of Mirage. His comprehension speed of the Dark World's absolute art was extremely fast. Furthermore, after eating the supplementary spiritual fruit, he had already mastered the first move of the Dark World. As an Inner Hall Elder, he has a protective treasure. The protective treasures of the Inner Hall Elders of the Great Void Heaven Temple could resist against Primal Chaos experts. He had to be fast. My attack will be so fast that he won't be able to react in time. He won't even have time to activate his protective treasure. Forefather Black Loth knew the difficulty of this assassination. Once it was activated. Not to mention an incarnation, even if his true body came, it would take some time to kill Dongbui Shuang. The Great Void Heaven Temple's old ancestor Tian Yu and the Sword Master might also come. 50%. Forefather Black Loth was solemn as well. He was extremely confident. However, if he wanted to kill Dongbui Shuang before the latter could react, he would only dare to say that he had a 50% chance of success. On the street. After stepping into the Unity Realm and grasping a new absolute art, Dongbui Shuang was in a good mood as he walked on the streets. He looked at the bustling crowd. Many of them were deities, world deities, and there were even some transcendents. On the other hand, the crowd naturally avoided Dongbui Shuang. After all, the aura of a Unity Realm expert was completely different, and it was enough to make them revere him. Unity Realm experts were considered experts no matter where they were. They could easily join the Deacon group of Celestial Water City. In the ancient saint cult, one could also become a saint envoy. Boom! Dongbui Shuang, who was dressed in white, was walking with a smile on his face. Suddenly, his expression changed. Who is it? A shout suddenly rang out. The surrounding space within 1,000 miles was completely still. The crowd on the streets and the residents in the surrounding residences, regardless of whether they were weak transcendents or powerful Unity Realm experts. At this moment, they all fell silent, unable to move. Everything within 1,000 li was shrouded in darkness. The world of darkness enveloped 1,000 li, suppressing everything. And Dongbui Shuang was the emperor of this region. The white-robed Dongbui Shuang looked towards a location within the world of darkness with killing intent in his eyes. A figure had appeared there. This figure was the only other person in the entire dark world other than Dongbui Shuang who could move. He had a short and plump body, and seemed ordinary. Only his pair of dark golden eyes were looking at Dongbui Shuang with shock. So powerful! Dongbui Shuang could feel the suppression coming from the other party's law domain. That's right, law domain. After becoming a true god ruler, one would possess an eternal law, and it was sufficient for one to form a domain. This domain was something that could be released at all times. Within this domain, the ruler would be able to speak the law, and the moment an enemy entered the domain, they would be discovered. Unless one's realm was extremely high. Void gods, origin birth realm, unity realm, primal chaos realm. As one's realm increased, their law domain would become stronger. Of which, in the same great realm, the more profound one's usage of the law was, the more perfect one's law domain would be. And Dongbua Shuang had reached the Unity Realm using the Tao of Mirage, and had grasped the Dark World's first style, Dark Bubble. Hence, he was able to construct the operating laws of his law domain according to the method of the Dark Bubble. That was why his law domain was extremely profound and powerful. Being able to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda at the Unity Realm showed how unique that Dark Bubble was to Primal Chaos Realm experts. Forefather Black Loath was an ancient Primal Chaos Realm expert. He might be able to infiltrate the law domain of ordinary Unity Realm experts easily, but it was impossible for Dongbua Shuang to infiltrate the law domain of an existence who could get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. It was dark and silent in the region of 500 li. The white-robed Dongbua Shuang was facing Forefather Black Loath from afar. Hong! The surface of Dongbua Shuang's body emitted layers of golden light. It was the protective talisman of the Inner Hall Elder that was activated. At the same time when the protective treasure was activated, Dongbua Shuang had a thought. Hua, the illusory world of darkness directly descended from nothingness into reality. It immediately devoured the world energy. The enormous world energy caused the energy of the entire celestial water city to tremble. This world of darkness rapidly shrunk. It avoided all other cultivators and rapidly surrounded Forefather Black Loath at the center. Forefather Black Loath looked at this scene. His dark golden eyes looked at Dongbua Shuang. There was a hint of a smile by the edge of his mouth. You have just reached the Unity Realm, yet your law domain is so dense and profound that it is comparable to a miniature cosmos. Seeing this technique of yours, it should be sufficient for you to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. I accept my defeat wholeheartedly. Forefather Black Loath directly transmitted. Following that, the world of darkness shrunk until it was like a bubble, completely enveloping Forefather Black Loath. Paw! The bubble of darkness immediately exploded. The insides of the bubble were completely destroyed. Forefather Black Loath had a smile on his face as he looked at Dongbua Shuang with interest. Following that, he disappeared silently. Everything regained its calm. The white-robed Dongbua Shuang stood on the street. The surface of his body was dazzling with golden light. The surrounding world of darkness was still pervading. He had even deliberately expanded the world of darkness to a range of 5 million kilometers. In the sacred world, the law domain of a Unity Realm expert could only be maintained at a range of 500 kilometers. But this dark bubble technique could be maintained at a maximum of 5 million kilometers. It really dissipated? Dongbua Shuang frowned. It seems to dissipate on its own. The destructive power of the dark bubble was indeed strong, but it did not feel any resistance at all. Clearly, the other party did not resist and dissipated on his own accord. There are no suspicious people within 5 million kilometers. Dongbua Shuang carefully inspected the area. Hong! The entire protective array of the celestial water city was activated. The colorful light was dazzling, causing the citizens of the celestial water city to raise their heads in shock. The surging energy from the protective array caused the world to tremble. And the citizens within 5 million kilometers of the world of darkness were also shocked and puzzled. They could see the sun in the sky through the world of darkness, and they did not feel any damage. South, a figure directly teleported and appeared in midair. It was none other than a man wearing a dark blue long robe. Elder Dongbua, what happened? The dark blue long robe man asked. There was a powerful fluctuation earlier. It was the destruction of the dark bubble. Even though it was only within the bubble, the intensity of the fluctuation was still too strong. It frightened the array spirit of the celestial water city so much that it immediately informed the incarnation of the celestial water hall master. Who? Dongbua Shuang retracted the world of darkness and flew to the side of the incarnation of the celestial water hall master. However, he still maintained the protective golden light around his body. He did not dare to be careless. I just suffered an assassination. Dongbua Shuang solemnly said, it should be the incarnation of a primal chaos expert. Chapter 855. Currently, the great city protecting array of the celestial water city was fully activated. Any life form within could forget about escaping. This was much stronger than the protective array of a small nation like the Golden Wing Nation. It was personally refined by Forefather Tianyu, and even primal chaos experts could not escape from it. In the sky, the blue-robed celestial water hall master and the white-robed Dongbu Shuang stood side by side in the sky. Assassination? Celestial water hall master's expression changed. You suffered from an assassination? Very formidable. Fortunately, I broke through to the Unity realm before this. Otherwise, I would have been in danger. Dongbu Shuang solemnly said. The other party's infiltration technique was formidable. Fortunately, he had reconstructed his law domain based on the dark bubble, allowing him to discover the enemy. If it were before he broke through, he would have relied on the plate ripple diagram to construct his law domain at the third-level star pagoda strength. If he could not discover the enemy, he would only discover it when the enemy's attack landed on him. If he was lucky, he might be able to activate his protective treasure at the brink of life and death. If he was unlucky, he might be killed in a single strike. Who dares to assassinate an inner hall elder of my great void heaven temple? Celestial Water Hall Master looked down at the vast Celestial Water City, and it is within our primal Chaos City. Celestial Water Hall Master's gaze landed on the location where the ripple came from. It was also the location where the dark bubble created by Dongbu Shuang was destroyed. The surrounding scene wanted time to flow back to check the past. Celestial Water Hall Master saw time flowing back on the street, and the white-robed Dongbu Shuang appearing once again. The surrounding was dark once again. Following that, time flowed back, before collapsing. I can't see through it. Celestial Water Hall Master gritted his teeth. He is really cautious. Even I can't see what happened at that time. Elder Dongbu, can you recognize who he is? Celestial Water Hall Master asked despite knowing that there was no hope. I don't know him amongst the primal chaos experts and cosmos gods that I know of. Dongbu Shuang said, he should have changed his appearance. Cosmos god? It is impossible for someone of that status to assassinate you. That is too embarrassing. Celestial Water Hall Master shook his head. I wonder which primal chaos expert is so daring. This was enough to infuriate the Great Void Heaven Temple. It was normal for the assassin to change his appearance and aura. Hurry back to the Great Void Heaven Temple. I've already reported this matter to the Heaven Palace. The Great Void Heaven Temple will definitely not let this matter rest. The Celestial Water Underworld Hall Master said, in order to find traces, there are many other methods besides body, appearance, and aura. It's not that easy. Yes. Dongbu Shuang nodded. He had just broken through to the Unity Realm and was originally planning to return to the Great Void Heaven Temple. Furthermore, this assassination attempt had raised his vigilance. Who exactly wanted to kill him? He should not have any powerful enemies in the 5 great saint worlds. Although his master, Gu Qi, had caused a lot of trouble, he had never exposed himself. Shuang immediately returned to the Great Void Heaven Temple from the Celestial Water City. Great Void Heaven Temple. Forefather Tianyu and the Sword Master were seated at the highest position. Below them, there were 6 hall masters seated on both sides. On both sides of the hall, there were inner hall elders. Dongbu Shuang was also standing amongst the inner hall elders. To actually dare to assassinate an inner hall elder of my Great Void Heaven Temple. Forefather Tianyu sat there and said coldly, Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, I'll have to trouble you. Alright, let me see who is so daring. One of the 6 hall masters stood up. He had long silver hair and black skin. He was none other than the hall masters of the Great Void Heaven Temple, the Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, even if he was in the Great Void Heaven Temple, as long as he was willing, he could easily scout any part of the 5 great saint worlds or even the primal chaos void. Wang. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master's black eyes stared at the void in front of him. A scene appeared in the void. It was a street in the Celestial Water City. Dongbua Shuang was leisurely walking on the street when the attack suddenly descended. In a radius of 1,000 miles, it was completely silent. Within 1,000 miles, countless people couldn't move at all. Only Dongbua Shuang and that enemy could move. Emichem. Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, as well as the Hall Masters and Inner Hall Elders below, were all shocked. What a powerful law domain! Dongbua Shuang sighed in admiration. The inquisitive Sky Hall Master was truly impressive. That assassin had clearly messed up spacetime, making it hard for the Celestial Water Hall Master to detect him. Yet, the inquisitive Sky Hall Master was able to do so easily. This short and fat man isn't any of the experts we know of. He must have changed his appearance and aura. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master coldly spoke. As long as he makes a move, we will be able to deduce his identity based on his moves. He should be very cautious and will use some unknown moves. The other Hall Masters spoke as well. In the 5 great sacred worlds, experts specialized in different techniques. Based on the techniques they specialized in, they would be able to deduce the identity of the assassin. Emichem. The expressions of everyone present changed. Because in the following scene, a golden protective light appeared on the surface of Dongbua Shuiying's body. Furthermore, the dark world descended and rapidly shrunk, turning into a black bubble that destroyed that short and fat man. But Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, and the others were very knowledgeable. They could see that the short and fat man did not resist at all. Instead, he took the initiative to disperse his incarnation. But what shocked them was the power of this black bubble. All of them turned their gazes towards Dongbua Shuiying. Their eyes were filled with shock, admiration, and doubt. Dongbua Shuiying. Forefather Tianyu said, "You should be able to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda now, right?" Reporting to Forefather. Dongbua Shuiying immediately replied respectfully, "I bought the sole copy of the Dark World Absolute Art during the treasure convention held by the 7-Star Oceanic Pavilion. This Absolute Art is quite suitable for me, allowing me to comprehend and break through to the Unity Realm. I even grasped the first style of Dark World, the Dark Bubble. Naturally, the supplementary spiritual fruit has helped me as well. The moment I saw it, I was able to recognize it as one of the famous moves of Dark World Master." Of the 6 Hall Masters seated there was a black-haired old man who chuckled. The previous time, Elder Dongbua was still at the Origin Birth Realm. This time, it has only been 100,000 years since he went to the Celestial Water City, and he has already stepped into the Unity Realm. Furthermore, he has grasped such an absolute art. Looking at all of you, I feel really old. Primal Chaos Hall Master is overpraising me. Dongbua Shuiying immediately replied. This black-haired old man was the person ranked first in strength in the Great Void Heaven Temple, Primal Chaos Hall Master. He was unfathomable. To think that I had to bitterly cultivate for 100 billion years after stepping into the Unity Realm before I could get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. Compared to Elder Dongbua, I am truly ashamed. He has just reached the Unity Realm, yet he is so strong. Admirable. The group of Inner Hall Elders were all praising him. They were all admiring him from the bottom of their hearts. Currently, all the Inner Hall Elders of the Great Void Heaven Temple were at the 5th level of strength. And Dongbua Shuiying was simply too talented. He had reached the 5th level strength. It was likely that he would have a high chance of breaking through to the 6th level in the future. Furthermore, with such comprehension ability, the possibility of him reaching the Primal Chaos Realm was relatively high. In addition, the Great Void Heaven Temple had strict rules and regulations. They were still very united internally. They were still very happy to see Dongbua Shuiying rising rapidly. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, are you able to investigate his identity? Forefather Tianyu asked. He took the initiative to dissipate without leaving behind any traces. It is impossible for me to investigate his identity. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master shook his head and returned to his position. Let me try. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Everyone looked over. The one who spoke was none other than Sword Master. Sword Master's eyes were deep and unfathomable. Countless divine runes were revolving in the void in front of him. Dongbui Shui Ying's figure could be vaguely seen. At the same time, he was trying his best to form another figure. That blurred figure suddenly turned into an old man. The old man grinned, "Haha, Myriad World Tavern. This is a fair trade. I hope for your understanding." Following that, all the illusory figures dissipated. The expressions of Forefather Tianyu and Sword Master changed. Myriad World Old Ghost. Sword Master snorted coldly. Forefather Tianyu understood that this enmity could no longer be avenged. Myriad World Tavern. Dongbui Shuang also understood. An enemy had hired the Myriad World Tavern to kill him. Who exactly is it? End of this chapter, star. Chapter 856. Who could the enemy be? Forefather Tianyu and Sword Master frowned. With Myriad Realm Tavern Master obstructing them, it was hard to find out the identity of the enemy using secret techniques. Even though they were unhappy with Myriad Realm Tavern Master, they were helpless. Myriad Realm Tavern Master, he should be ranked first amongst the cosmos gods in terms of survivability. He specialized in avatar techniques. Avatars and not incarnations. One had to know that Primal Chaos Realm or Cosmos God would usually have a single true body. They could at most refine some incarnations, and it was a minor matter if the incarnation dissipated. But the moment the true body was killed, it would be a true death. Even the top few final realm existences like Sacred Master, Ancestor Mother, and Wuzu only had a single true body. But Myriad Realm Tavern Master was the only exception amongst all final realm existences. Every single avatar of his was his true body. And he knew that he had a few thousand avatars scattered across the 5 great sacred worlds and the primal chaos void. As long as one avatar was alive, he could never kill Myriad Realm Tavern Master. Hence, even though he created the Myriad Realm Tavern in a relatively arrogant manner, and had offended many superpowers by assassinating Dongbui Shuang this time, the other party could only suppress their anger. However, everyone could only swallow their anger because the Myriad World Tavern Master was a loner. He didn't establish a sect, and even every Myriad World Tavern was managed by his avatar. They could not kill him, and he had no worries. He was powerful too. He had many avatars and could appear and disappear unpredictably. Various superpowers would rather fight with Sacred Master than Myriad Realm Tavern Master. That was why the status of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was so special. Dongbui, can you guess who the enemy is? Among the Hall Masters, Ancestor Devil asked. To be able to pay such a huge price to invite the Myriad Realm Tavern, he must have an extraordinary background. Dongbui Shuang felt puzzled too. After I left my hometown Cosmos, I offended Heaven Weeping Sect Master. He doesn't dare, and it is impossible for Ancestor Bone to do so. Ancestor Devil directly answered. After that, I went into closed-door cultivation within the Heaven Palace. After that, I went to the Celestial Water City and destroyed a base of the ancient saint cult. Dongbui Shuang pondered and said, I have only been in the sacred world for a short period of time, and there are very few people that I have a grudge with. Back then, among the members of the ancient sacred religion that I killed, there was a person with a special status. He was an ordinary Unity Realm expert. However, he has a peak Unity Realm mutated beast following him. Furthermore, he has the most treasures. With that, Dongbui Shuang waved his hand, and the appearance of the black-robed man, Sacred Emissary Qiyun, appeared in midair. Because there were too few people who had enmity with him, Dongbui Shuang thought of the black-robed man, Sacred Envoy Qiyun. Ancient Saint Cult member. An ordinary Unity Realm expert actually has a peak Unity Realm mutated beast following him? The higher-ups of the Great Void Heaven Temple had their own guesses. Maybe he has a unique background. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. It's a pity that we have no way of investigating the ancient sacred world. The ancient sacred world was a forbidden ground for many superpowers. All cultivators in the ancient sacred world believed in the Sacred Master. The light of the Sacred Master illuminated the entire ancient sacred world, and the internal situation within the ancient sacred world like which experts had relationships with each other, unless it was made public, it was impossible to investigate. Even cosmos gods did not dare to barge in. The moment they entered, the sacred master would immediately discover them. With the unparalleled strength of the sacred master, even cosmos gods would die if they entered. Currently, Dongbu's strength has greatly increased. It is impossible for us to assassinate him. Ancestor Devil said, since that's the case, we'll temporarily drop this matter. Dongbu should be more careful of the ancient sacred religion in the future. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Guessing that the enemy was from the ancient sacred religion, there was nothing much to say. Because the Great Void Heaven Temple and the ancient sacred religion were mortal enemies. Both parties wished for the other party to die, and they would not show mercy if there was an opportunity. But the ancient sacred religion was very careful too. It was too difficult to kill a primal chaos expert from the ancient sacred religion. After the gathering, everyone left the Great Void Heaven Temple. As they left, Elder Dongbu, a black-haired old man, flew over. Dongbu Shuang saw this and immediately said, Primal Chaos Hall Master. This person's strength was deep and unfathomable. Even though the intelligence was not publicized, Dongbu Shuang deduced that he should have gotten through the highest 9th level of the Star Pagoda according to the evaluation of his teacher, Gu Qi. I have a matter that I need Elder Dongbu's help on. The black-haired old man said. What is it? Hall Master, feel free to say it. I'll naturally do my best. Dongbu Shuang said. The black-haired old man softly nodded, I am slightly interested in the dark world. Can you let me take a look? Naturally, I know that you have paid quite a lot to buy it. I'll give you 1.5 million contribution points. How about that? Sure, of course. I have cultivated for a short period, and have practically spent all my treasures on this dark world absolute art. I am more than happy to be able to obtain 1.5 million contribution points. Dongbu Shuang said. Primal Chaos Hall Master was different from that forefather Quan Miao. Forefather Quan Miao specialized in the illusory realm, and desired the dark world. And Primal Chaos Hall Master had never heard of him specialized in the illusory realm. It might be because he was slightly interested and wanted to take a look. It was also because his strength was much higher than forefather Quan Miao and Saint Wang Ming. Even Ancestor Devil was far from his level. He had many treasures too. Naturally, he disdained to take advantage of Dongbu Shuang. 1 million contribution points, to Primal Chaos Hall Master, was an easy sum. All right. The black-haired old man chuckled and nodded. At the same time, Dongbu Shuaying's communication talisman received a notification that his contribution points had increased by 1.5 million. Dongbu Shuang was astonished at Primal Chaos Hall Master's straightforwardness. He immediately took out the Dark World book. The black-haired old man flipped through it before receiving the inheritance. Slightly interesting. The black-haired old man chuckled, it's a pity that Dark World Master died too early. It is indeed rare for Elder Dongbu to grasp it so quickly. He was slightly curious about this absolute art. Because Dongbu Shuang grasped it too quickly, it made Primal Chaos Hall Master even more curious. How could an absolute art that could allow one to get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda be grasped so quickly? That was why he wanted to flip through it. If Dongbu Shuang spent a long time to grasp it, Primal Chaos Hall Master would likely not be interested in it. I might be able to create an absolute art after pondering over it. The black-haired old man chuckled. He was at this realm because he wanted to experience all sorts of new cultivation directions. He wanted to study and ponder over them, wanting to touch his own body and take that final step to reach the final realm. After all, he could vaguely see the final realm, yet he could not break through. It is good that Hall Master can gain something from it. Dongbu Shuang said. You have obtained the Dark World Absolute Art and cultivated it within 100,000 years. There shouldn't be a need to keep this a secret, right? The black-haired old man asked. If there is no need to keep it a secret, I can help you out. Who knows, there might be some experts who are willing to pay a price to learn this dark world. Of course, there is no need to keep it a secret. Dongbua Shuang answered. There were many absolute geniuses at the Unity Realm in history. There were quite a few who got through the 6th level of Star Pagoda, and there were even some who got through the 7th level. Now that he had such strength, there was no need for him to conceal it. Because with his current strength, even Primal Chaos true bodies could forget about assassinating him stealthily. The moment he discovered them, he could activate his protective talisman. Hence, reaching this level, he had the confidence to face all kinds of dangers. Knowing that you have cultivated it so quickly, there must be some old fellows who are curious and might come to buy the dark world to have a look. The black-haired old man laughed. Remember, you have to pay a fixed price of 150 Origin World Rocks. Any less and those old fellows might feel heartache. I understand. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Primal Chaos Hall Master had lived for too long and was incredibly powerful. The old man he mentioned could possibly be some other Primal Chaos giants who were similarly stuck at the final bottleneck. Only those old men who were rich enough and were seeking to break through the bottleneck would be willing to fork out more than 100 Origin World Rocks out of curiosity. It was impossible for experts like Ancestor Devil to be so extravagant. And then, the black-haired old man chuckled. He was willing to slaughter those old fellows for the sake of his fellow disciples. Chapter 857. In the vast Primal Chaos Void, there was a Primal Chaos land that was filled with many flame patterns. At the center of the land, there was an expert with a stone body standing in midair. He closed his eyes, and there were many fire dragons flying out from his body into the array of this Primal Chaos land. Experts with bodies of stone were also covered in black armor. Only their arms, heads, and other parts of their bodies were exposed. Mo Hua. A voice sounded. The stone male standing in midair slowly opened his eyes. His eyelids and pupils were made of stone, just that his pupils were flowing with flames. The stone male looked to his side. There was already a blurred Primal Chaos illusory figure appearing. It was a black-haired old man. Primal Chaos, what's the matter? The stone male grinned. He and Primal Chaos Hall Master were both old fellows that existed since the most primitive ancient sacred world era. They had lived for a long time and were extremely strong. There were not many who could make him, Mo Hua, a friend. Usually, they were old fellows from the same era, or those with strength that he acknowledged. I naturally have good news to tell you. The illusory figure of Primal Chaos Hall Master said, my great Void Heaven Temple has a young brat called Dongbua Shuang. He has obtained an absolute art called Dark World. After obtaining it, he reached the Unity Realm within 100,000 years and reached the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. What? The stone male was slightly startled. He obtained an absolute art, reached the Unity Realm within 100,000 years, and reached the 5th level Star Pagoda strength? Is there any time acceleration? There isn't. It isn't hard for you to investigate this. Why would I lie? Primal Chaos Hall Master said. Dark World? Is it the absolute art of that brat called Dark World Master? The stone male asked. Right. The illusory figure of Primal Chaos Hall Master continued, I have studied this absolute art and found it quite interesting. Creating an incomparably mysterious world is all for the sake of nurturing a killing technique. Currently, both you and I are stuck at the final step, and are trying to open a cosmos from the primal chaos. I feel that you can comprehend the world structure of this absolute art. Perhaps it might be helpful to you. Alright, hurry up and come to the Great Void Heaven Temple if you want to learn it. There is no bargaining. 150 Origin World Rocks for one chance. Since you're here, you can accompany me for a drink and a chat. It's been a long time since we last met. The stone man pondered for a moment before smiling. Alright, I'll head over as soon as possible. He believed that with Primal Chaos Hall Master's status, he would disdain lying for this little bit of Origin World Rocks. If what he said was true, he was indeed very interested. The absolute art of the Dark World was created by a Unity Realm genius. Now, another genius had gotten it, and he reached the Unity Realm in just 100,000 years. Furthermore, he relied on it to reach the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Was this absolute art that easy to learn? And if the structure of the world was really unique, perhaps it might really be of some help in opening up a universe from the primal chaos. As long as it was of some help, it would be worth it. Within the myriad hall of the Great Void Heaven Temple. After reaching the Unity Realm, Dongbo Shuang came to the myriad hall to read through the scriptures. He flipped through the scriptures personally written by these experts. Other than receiving the information, just the aura left behind by these experts gave Dongbo Shuang some insights. Elder Dongbo, come over to my place. Primal Chaos Hall Master transmitted, bring along your original copy of the Dark World. Alright. Dongbo Ying's eyes brightened. He immediately left the Myriad Hall Master. Very soon. He came to the Primal Chaos Hall where the Hall Master was currently staying. Within a courtyard, 2 figures were seated opposite each other. There was a long table in front of them, and there was good wine on the table. The 2 of them were currently drinking and chatting. Elder Dongbo. Primal Chaos Hall Master saw Dongbo Shuang and greeted. Dongbo Shuang hurriedly walked over. At the same time, he noticed the male opposite Primal Chaos Hall Master. This was a skinny and fair male. He had 2 fangs exposed, and his aura was very reserved. General Hatchet Palace Master. Dongbo Shuang immediately recognized him. General Hatchet. He was the strongest bloodline descendant of Devil Mountain Primogenitor. He was also the strongest primal chaos expert on the current Primogenitor Island. Relying on the bloodline cultivation system, reaching the primal chaos realm was the limit. This General Hatchet Palace Master had also cultivated the strongest warrior system. Hence, even though his body was skinny and white and seemed weak, in reality, his body was much more terrifying than Dongbo Shuiying's high-graded Void God weapon. This was an old man whose strength was similar to Primal Chaos Hall Master. Here are 150 Origin World Rocks. General Hatchet Palace Master was very straightforward. He waved his hand and a pile of Origin World Rocks flew over. Since the other party was straightforward, Dongbo Shuang was naturally straightforward as well. After receiving the Origin World Rocks, he flipped his hand and passed the original copy of the Dark World to General Hatchet Palace Master. After receiving it, General Hatchet Palace Master flipped through it before closing it. Slightly interesting. General Hatchet Palace Master threw the book back to Dongbo Shuang. At the same time, he shook his head at Primal Chaos Hall Master. Primal Chaos, even though this absolute art has a unique style in terms of the world structure, the difficulty isn't low. I have never said that the difficulty isn't low. Primal Chaos Hall Master replied. You didn't say it, but you said that he would reach the Unity Realm and the 5th level Star Pagoda strength in 100,000 years. You purposely made me think that this absolute art is unique and easy to grasp. General Hatchet Palace Master said. This is your wild imagination. You can't blame me. Primal Chaos Hall Master said. Even though General Hatchet Palace Master was speaking to Primal Chaos Hall Master, he wasn't angry. Even though this Dark World absolute art was created by a Unity Realm expert, its world structure was unique. It was created from a different direction, and it had both the first and second style. Following this direction, with their strength, it was entirely possible for them to continue researching. It was indeed related to the cosmos they opened from the primal chaos. 2 seniors, I'll be taking my leave. Dongbo Shuang could see that General Hatchet Palace Master wasn't interested in speaking with him. Naturally, he would not be a hindrance since he had obtained the Origin World Rocks. Time passed. Even though Primal Chaos Hall Master had helped Dongbo Shuang spread the news, telling many peak existences at the Primal Chaos Realm, including Primal Chaos Hall Master, there were a total of 5 Primal Chaos Giants who learned this absolute art over the past 1,000 years. They learned it. Firstly, it was Primal Chaos Hall Master who spoke. They trusted Primal Chaos Hall Master quite a bit. Secondly, it was the structure of the world that was similar to the final step they wanted to take. Thirdly, it was because Dongbu Shuang cultivated too quickly. He grasped the absolute art after 100,000 years, and it made them curious. They were curious why another Unity Realm expert could cultivate an absolute art created by a Unity Realm expert in such a short time. What was so unique about it? There were 3 reasons why the few of them came to learn it. Naturally, it was just these few. 150 Origin World rocks. It wasn't a lot, but it wasn't little either. Those who should have come have come. I haven't heard about the others coming. Primal Chaos Hall Master transmitted to Dongbu Shuang, I'm afraid you can't continue your business in the dark world anymore. That's enough. It's all thanks to Hall Master. Dongbu Shuang transmitted back. Go. Primal Chaos Hall Master laughed before ordering. He was currently accompanying his 4 good friends. The 5 existences who had reached the pinnacle of Primal Chaos Realm were currently chatting. As for Dongbu Shuang, he left with the joy of earning Origin World rocks. I've earned. After leaving the Primal Chaos Hall, Dongbu Shuang calculated, even though I've spent 501 Origin World rocks to purchase this absolute art, Forefather Quan Miao has spent 235 Origin World rocks, and the 4 Primal Chaos experts have spent 600 Origin World rocks. Primal Chaos Hall Master has spent 1.5 million contribution points. In total, I've earned 334 Origin World rocks, 1.5 million contribution points, and the original copy of this absolute art. Dongbu Shuang was clear. Instead, he had earned after learning this absolute art. It was mainly because of Primal Chaos Hall Master's help. If he were the one who took the initiative to spread the news, it would be good for General Hatchet Palace Master and the other 3 to learn it. It's time to go to the Star Pagoda. Dongbu Shuang looked up at that towering Star Pagoda. The 5th level of Star Pagoda involved a huge secret. Even his teacher Gu Qi did not tell him about it. He had to pass through the 5th level of Star Pagoda before he was qualified to know about it. Previously, he had been flipping through the books and waiting for those Primal Chaos Giants. He did not want to neglect those Primal Chaos Giants when they came, but he could not rush over immediately. South Dongbu Shuang turned into a stream of light and flew towards the Star Pagoda. Chapter 858. The mountain range was continuous, and the forest was lush. Dongbu Shuang appeared on this level of the world. He stood on a mountain peak looking down at the world. This was the 4th level of the Star Pagoda world. He had been defeated at this level when he was a void god at the Origin Birth Realm. He is here. Dongbu Shuang turned his gaze towards the distant sky. Chi, many strands of blood light flew out from the depths of the mountain range. They converged at a single point in midair before finally forming a creature of a different race wearing a blood-red armor. His skin was dark, and his entire body seemed to be forged from black metal. He had a head full of black hair that was tied into hundreds of braids. The blood-armored creature tilted his head slightly. Only his single gray eye was looking at Dongbu Shuang. Your strength has increased? You finally dare to challenge me again? The aura he emitted caused the laws of the world to slightly distort. It seemed as if he was born to destroy everything. Can I ask where you came from? Dongbu Shuang asked. You aren't qualified. The blood-armored creature gave a savage grin. It is better for you to die. Hong! He suddenly unleashed a horrifying ripple. This ripple swept out in all directions. Every strand of ripple was filled with a sinister aura. As this ripple swept across, it did not seem to be offensive at all, yet many flowers and grasses on the mountain range withered. The leaves on the trees turned yellow and fell off. This level of the world instantly became filled with desolation. When this ripple swept across Dongbu Shuang, it was naturally blocked when it was still 500 kilometers away. Dongbu Shuang's law domain was much stronger. Interesting. This is becoming more and more interesting. The blood-armored creature felt that his original plan was useless. He immediately gave up and decided to fight directly. South, he disappeared from the place. Dongba Shuang remained standing calmly on the mountain peak. Nevertheless, the surrounding 500 kilometers around him had fallen into darkness. Dongba Shuang turned towards a direction. A figure had appeared in the darkness 500 kilometers away. It was none other than the blood-armored creature that was about to teleport over. Currently, even though he could barely move within the law domain of Dongba Shuang, his speed was much slower. Under the suppression of the law domain, he could only unleash 10% of his strength. Die! Dongba Shuang commanded. Who? A world of darkness spanning 5,000 kilometers descended from the illusory world. It turned corporeal and began absorbing the surrounding world energy. The blood-armored life form looked at the descending world of darkness. This pitch-black world was filled with silence, but the blood-armored life form could sense an incomparably terrifying destruction brewing behind this silence. This caused his expression to change involuntarily. He originally thought that even if this little fellow had stepped into the Unity realm, it wouldn't be so easy for him to defeat him. But from the looks of it now, he was ridiculously wrong. The previous time I saw him, he was still at the origin birth realm. How long has it been since he broke through? How could he kill me so easily? An elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple shouldn't have cultivated so quickly, right? The blood-armored creature roared with unwillingness as he rushed towards Dongba Shuang. But his current speed was indeed very slow. The world of darkness was rapidly shrinking around the blood-armored creature. When it shrunk to a size of 100 meters, it was like a huge bubble wrapping around the blood-armored creature that was trying his best to fly. Paw! The bubble of darkness exploded. The destructive energy of the world was completely concentrated on the body of the blood-armored creature, causing him to stare fixedly at Dongba Shuang. Following that, he was completely annihilated. But when he was annihilated, he turned into a blood light and tunneled back into the continuous mountain range. Let's go to the 5th level. Dongba Shuang didn't find it strange. After all, with the experience of the Dark World Master, the first style of dark bubble was sufficient to get through the 5th level. It was naturally easy for him to deal with the 4th level. The 5th level of Star Pagoda had too many special meanings. Getting through this level represented that his strength had reached the boundary of the primal chaos realm. It represented that he was nearly unparalleled amongst those at the Unity realm. As for getting through the 6th and 7th level, those were things that appeared in history. In the current era, there wasn't a single Unity realm 7th level expert, and the number of Unity realm 6th level experts could be counted with one's fingers. The probability of meeting one was even lower than meeting a cosmos god. In the Great Void Heaven Temple, those at the Unity realm who got through this level would become an Inner Hall Elder. Only after getting through this level can I find out about a hidden secret. Shuang appeared in the middle of a desolate wilderness. Lightning serpents would often strike the ground with crackling sounds. However, these lightning serpents were concentrated in a distant region, while Ying's location was tranquil. What exactly is the secret that my teacher Gu Qi isn't willing to tell me? Dongba Shuang felt puzzled. Soon. I will know after defeating the opponent on this level. Dongba Shuang was looking forward to it. Chi. In the distant region where lightning struck, a large amount of blood light converged on the ground, forming a blood-armored expert. He had 4 arms, and his skin was silvery white. He was tall and big, and he was currently staring coldly at Dongba Shuang. 1. Dongba Shuang was slightly startled as he watched this scene. Bring it on then. Dongba Shuang's eyes turned cold. After cultivating this absolute art, he finally unleashed it with all his might. Boom 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 boom. A world of darkness descended from the illusory world. After that, an even larger world of darkness enveloped the previous world of darkness as well. The 3rd world of darkness, the 4th world of darkness, there was a total of 6 worlds of darkness, each containing 1. They turned corporeal and were frenziedly absorbing the heaven and earth energy. At the same time, they were also shrinking. Ultimately, all 6 bubbles, from the smallest to the largest, enveloped the enemy. Paw! 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 6 bubbles of darkness exploded one after another. Because with the strength of Dongbu Shui Ying's soul, he could only construct 6 worlds of darkness at the same time. Any more and it would exceed his limits. The 6 bubbles of darkness exploded one after another, and the might of the explosion blasted against the blood-armored enemy in the 5th world, ****. Chapter 859. The blood-armored 4-armed expert let out a painful roar. After the 6 darkness bubbles were destroyed, his current appearance was revealed. Out of his 4 arms, only 2 were left. His body was filled with hideous wounds, and even half of his head was missing. He stared at Dongbu Shuang with eyes filled with anger. However, his heart was filled with sorrow because he knew that he would probably die in the hands of this white-robed youth. Dongbu Shuang traversed through the void within the mirage world, trying his best to maintain his distance from his opponent. Again. Dongbu Shuang was also shocked at the toughness of his opponent's body. However, he instantly constructed the darkness world again. Each world enveloped another world, and the 6th darkness world enveloped the enemy once again. As it rapidly shrunk, the 6 darkness bubbles exploded one after another. Although it looked very interesting, it was actually very powerful. The darkness world absolute art is indeed powerful. The enemy would lose their lives before they could even get close. Shuang sighed inwardly, but the weakness is very obvious. The moment an enemy gets close to me, I'll be in big trouble. Regardless of whether it's the first style, dark bubble, or the second style, sky punishment edge, they aren't suited for close combat. That darkness world master probably lost his life because of his weakness in close combat. Dongbu Shuang guessed. The darkness world master definitely wanted to make up for his weakness. He wanted to make his body stronger, and also improve his close combat. However, there were still some things he was good at and some things he wasn't. As an ancient cultivator, the darkness world master's talent in the illusory realm was heaven-defying. However, he wasn't good in other aspects. Even if he cultivated other systems, it would be very difficult for him to reach a high level. I have to focus on cultivating the Tao of Massacre and Tao of Ripples. I can't slack off on the Voidwalker system either. Dongbu Shuang thought. His talent in the Tao of Massacre and Tao of Ripples was weaker than the Tao of Mirage. He hadn't reached the Unity Realm, and he hadn't grasped the apocalyptic 4th sword. However, being slightly weaker was also relative. He was, after all, a ruler, yet he had grasped the apocalyptic 2nd sword. I have to improve my close combat as well. The Voidwalker system can make up for my body's toughness. In that case, the greatest weakness of the dark world will be made up for. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. At that time, with the combination of my various techniques, my combat prowess will be much stronger than it is now. Although he was thinking in his heart. However, Dongbu Shuang continued to cast the 6-fold world of darkness. Although the blood-armored enemy was infuriated, he couldn't even touch Dongbu Shuaying's body. Instead, he was bombarded with attacks. His injuries continued to worsen. After Dongbu Shuang had constructed more than 60 dark worlds, the enemies were finally annihilated, and the blood-red light fused into the ground. We finally won. Dongbu Shuang heaved a sigh of relief. The enemy couldn't get close. He had finally exhausted the enemy to death with the help of the dark bubble. With such a powerful physique and fearsome speed, even Dongbu Shuang would feel pressured if they were to engage in close combat. At the 5th level of Star Pagoda, a figure suddenly appeared amidst the thunder. He was none other than the hunchbacked old man, Forefather Tianyu. Forefather. Dongbu Shuang was still reminiscing about the previous battle. When he saw Forefather Tianyu appearing, he immediately bowed respectfully. Dongbu Shuang. Forefather Tianyu nodded. When he saw how Dongbu Shuang dealt with the assassination, he knew that this brat would definitely pass through the 5th level. There has been a rumor going around within the Great Void Heaven Temple that one would know of a huge secret after passing through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. Yes. Dongbo Shuang said, when I was with the other Inner Hall elders, they would occasionally mention it. But because of my presence, they immediately stopped talking. This is the rule. Be it my Great Void Heaven Temple, Primogenitor Island, Jade Light Sacred Territory, or even the 7-star Oceanic Sacred World and Eastern Unicorn Sacred World, a total of 6 holy grounds, all of them have to pass through the 5th level of Star Pagoda. Forefather Tianyu said. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Speaking of which, we have to talk about the primitive ancient sacred world. The eyes of Forefather Tianyu were misty. He slowly said, a very long time ago, there was only the largest primitive ancient sacred world. The laws of the primitive ancient sacred world are much stronger than any other sacred world, and the suppression on power is much stronger too. But similarly, many life forms are reproducing and cultivating within. Dongbo Shuang was startled. The laws were much stronger than the current 5 great sacred worlds, and the suppression was much stronger. The primitive ancient sacred world nurtured many experts, of which many had reached the final realm. Cosmos gods would often battle. Even though the shockwaves would spread across 50 million kilometers, it isn't considered much to the primitive ancient sacred world. Forefather Tianyu said, that group of cosmos gods in the past did not care about it. Along with the increase in the number of final realm existences, and their strength increasing, the scale of the battles would gradually become bigger. Dongbo Shuang listened. He knew that there were differences in strength between the final realm existences. Those at the lower levels like Ancestor Bone were practically at the bottom. Those at the middle level like Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, Void Primogenitor, and others. Lord Lo Cheng's combat strength was roughly at this level. Those at the higher levels were the unparalleled Sacred Master, Ancestor Mother, Wu Zhu, and others. That final great battle was too powerful. Even the laws of the primitive ancient sacred world could not suppress it. Pang! The primitive ancient sacred world shattered. Forefather Tianyu shook his head, that is truly an unprecedented calamity. Those final realm existences who participated in the battle did not think that their battle would cause the entire primitive ancient sacred world to shatter. Hence, they were not prepared at all. As a result, countless lives in the primitive ancient sacred world perished during the destruction. Only the strong could survive when the primitive ancient sacred world was destroyed. That time, I was still a primal chaos expert. I could only save some of the life forms around me. To the countless life forms in the primitive ancient sacred world, I was just a drop in the ocean. Forefather Tianyu sighed. Dongbo Shuang felt a chill down his spine. Almost all life forms in the primitive ancient sacred world were wiped out. That was many times more than the number of life forms in a cosmos. This was indeed an unprecedented calamity. After the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, the primal chaos void expanded in all directions. It is still expanding now. Forefather Tianyu said, the region of the primal chaos void is constantly expanding. Dongbo Shuang, what do you think the final outcome will be if it keeps growing bigger? Forefather Tianyu asked. Dongbo Shuang was stunned. A bubble would keep growing bigger and eventually explode. If a cosmos kept growing bigger, there would most likely be a problem. We do not know what the outcome will be because we have yet to see it. Forefather Tianyu said, but we all feel that it will not be a good outcome. Furthermore, after the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, a group of unique life forms were born by the boundary of the primal chaos void. Forefather Tianyu said, they seem to be born for the sake of destruction. We call them the destruction devils. They are born for the sake of destruction. Dongbo Shuang felt puzzled, they only appeared after the primitive ancient sacred world shattered? Forefather Tianyu nodded, right. Their aura is completely counter to ordinary life forms like us. They do not seem to have any other desires other than destruction. Killing everything. We suspect that after the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, these life forms were naturally born by the operating laws. They might be trying to destroy us. They might be trying to reduce the pressure on the operating laws, or they might be trying to let the endless primal chaos void return to nothingness. These are all conjectures. Even if it returns to nothingness, it could give birth to a new primitive ancient sacred world. This is unrelated to us. Hence, it is impossible for us to die just like that. Forefather Tianyu said, at the end of the void, there are several final realm existences guarding over the place. There are also large batches of primal chaos and unity realm experts heading there just for the sake of killing these destruction devils. The enemies you met in the Star Pagoda are destruction devils. Naturally, they have been refined into puppet life forms. Forefather Tianyu said, from the 1st level to the 9th level, there are destruction devils. Occasionally, some destruction devils would surpass the 9th level, and they are existences comparable to cosmos gods. Dongbua Shuang was dumbstruck. There were actually existences comparable to cosmos gods. No wonder it required several final realm existences to guard over the place. If they could not resist against the destruction devils, this primal chaos void and 5 great sacred worlds could indeed be completely destroyed. This is the price. The price of that battle in the past. Forefather Tianyu sneered, it's a pity that Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother are too selfish. The two of them have never gone to the boundary of the void to fight. They aren't even willing to let their subordinates do so. It is still the other 3 great sacred worlds that can resist against the destruction devils. Sacred Master seems to have forgotten, that battle in the past was started by him. Dongbua Shuang was startled. Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother actually did not contribute against the destruction devils at the boundary of the void? Chapter 860. Forefather Tianyu looked at Dongbua Shuang before chuckling, you don't have to be in a rush to the boundary of the void. That place is too dangerous. Usually, only those who have reached a bottleneck or those who wish to temper themselves would be willing to take the risk. There are benefits to fighting with the destruction devils too. When we kill the destruction devils, they will emit a unique energy that seems to be completely opposite to our soul. The moment we absorb it, our soul will be strengthened. That unique feeling is similar to absorbing Origin World rocks. Absorbing Origin World rocks? Dongbua Shuang was startled. Origin World rocks were formed after the origin source of the primitive ancient sacred world shattered. They were mystical and precious, and were useful even to cosmos gods. Right. Even though their natures are different, the benefits to the soul are similar. Forefather Tianyu said, the stronger the destruction devil, the greater the benefits to the soul. On the other hand, the materials on the body of the destruction devils are all rare and valuable. Previously, the most precious Chengkun from the Chengkun convention that you participated in was the skin of a 9th-level destruction devil. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The destruction devils were a huge danger, yet every single one of them was a treasure. But one had to be alive to obtain these treasures. After all, when both parties fought, a slight carelessness would result in the deaths of both parties. The reason why I have to let you guys know after passing the 5th level is because I am worried that some weaker cultivators would still head to the boundary of the void. Those who are weak would simply be sending themselves to death. Forefather Tianyu shook his head, even though there are some extremely weak destruction devils in the Star Pagoda, they would usually work together at the boundary of the void. You are still young. The cultivation period is short. Don't go for the time being. Forefather Tianyu said, properly cultivate, and it would be best if you could reach the primal chaos realm before heading there. By then, the chances of you dying would be very low. Understood. Dongbua Shuang acknowledged. What a joke. He temporarily did not have any thoughts of going there. That place was too dangerous. In the Great Void Heaven Temple, reaching the 5th level was the lowest combat power. Even though he desired to temper himself, he did not wish to die. If he died, what would happen to his wife and children in his hometown Cosmos? He still had to send some cultivation materials back. Before settling down his wife and children, he would naturally not consider going to such a dangerous place. Patriarch Dongbua Shuang said, I would like to ask, to a stage 4 universe god, which items are the best to assist in cultivation? The higher the price, the better. This was because stage 4 world deities were relatively weak, and their souls were weak as well. There were some extremely powerful cultivation aids that the soul of a stage 4 world deity would not be able to withstand. Consuming them would only result in their soul shattering. Thus, it had to be gentle enough and suitable for stage 4 world deities. Oh? Suitable for stage 4 world deities? Forefather Tianyu pondered for a moment before saying, in terms of help, the Eternal Heart and the Origin World Fruit would be the most helpful. Unfortunately, they are priceless treasures that I couldn't even hope for. How about this? I've already sent you the information of the other 10 most suitable cultivation aids. However, they're all quite expensive. Yes. Dongbua Shuang had already received a piece of information through his communication token. First, Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, purchase price around 6,000 Origin World Stones. Second, Ancient Sacred 9 Stones, purchase price around 35,000 Origin World Stones. This was also the most precious item in the top 10. Actually, most Cosmos gods would use it, and it would be too wasteful for a stage 4 world deity to use it. Third, Sandfire Ancestral Leaf, purchase price around 5,000 Origin World Stones. 10th, Destruction Devil Spider Golden Silk, a set of price around 2,000 Origin World Stones. So expensive. Dongbua Shuang felt the pressure after reading through it. The cheapest item in the top 10 was priced at 2,000 Origin World Stones. Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core is my first target. Dongbua Shuang thought. He knew that the pressure was huge because he had to buy 2 sets, and that meant he had to spend more than 10,000 Origin World Stones. To Primal Chaos Realm giants, this was practically a total of all their treasures. Naturally, those who stood at the peak of the Primal Chaos Realm and those like Ancestor Desert, who specialized in earning Origin World Stones, were not limited to this. But to Dongbua Shuang, who was merely at the Unity Realm, it was still too high for him to reach. He had earned quite a lot during this period, but it was unlikely that anyone would learn how to buy and sell the Dark World inheritance anymore. This was even with the help of Primal Chaos Hall Master. As for destroying the base of the ancient sacred religion, it was considered fortunate that he could do it once. After the ancient sacred religion suffered such a loss, they would definitely become more vigilant and careful, and the difficulty of finding their base would increase exponentially. How do I earn? Dongbua Shuang felt the pressure too. Actually, this was the pressure felt by almost every expert. Even Cosmos gods who were high above did not dislike having too many Origin World Stones. They were also willing to consume the origin energy from the primitive ancient sacred world since they wanted to become stronger. Like his teacher Gu Qi, he had yet to cultivate the walker's hidden secret to the final grand perfection. There was still some gap between him and Void Primogenitor. Why, is it very expensive? Why don't you find those cheaper ones? Forefather Tianyu had a smile on his face. He guessed that since Dongbua Shuang was so young, his family should still be alive. Hence, it was most likely for him to search for treasures suitable for stage 4 world deities to aid his cultivation. Forefather Dongbua Shuang asked, I've previously bought the unique copy of this Dark World Absolute Art. I've heard that the Great Void Heaven Temple is willing to buy it too. Naturally. Forefather Tianyu nodded, but because it has been sold once, the Great Void Heaven Temple can only buy it for 1.5 million contribution points. 1.5 million contribution points. Dongbua Shuang muttered inwardly. That was too little. He could earn 150 Origin World Rocks just by killing those Primal Chaos giants who stood at the peak. Naturally, such a good thing would most likely not happen again. Let me think about it. Dongbua Shuang said. No rush. You can sell it to the Sky Palace at any time. It's always this price. Forefather Tianyu said. The internal operations of the Great Void Heaven Temple had its own rules. It was impossible for them to casually give a high price because their contribution points could be exchanged for large amounts of precious treasures. The Destruction Devil Spider Golden Silk is not bad. Getting a set of it is already a huge pressure for you. Forefather Tian Yu said before his figure dissipated. He left the Star Pagoda. Dongbua Shuang sighed inwardly. The Destruction Devil Spider Golden Silk was something that he had in stock because it was a material used by the Destruction Devils. For instance, that Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core was something that he had to search for. It was extremely hard to find. As for the price, it was the approximate selling price in the past. Even if it is the Destruction Devil Spider Golden Silk, 2 sets would cost 4,000 Origin World Rocks. Dongbua Shuang thought, I'll take it slow. Before I settle down Jing Qiu and the others, it isn't appropriate for me to risk my life at the boundary of the void. Then the only way I can earn Origin World Rocks is to fight with the ancient sacred religion and the ancestor mother religion. Dongbua Shuang flipped through the many missions within the Great Void Heaven Temple through the communication talisman. Fighting with the ancient sacred religion and the ancestor mother religion, this was an eternal topic. In history, the most cosmos gods died in battles with the 2 great religions. The ancient sacred world and the ancestor mother world are the territories of the enemies. Going there is no different from courting death. That place is 10 to 100 times more dangerous than the boundary of the void. Dongbua Shuang thought, as for the other 3 sacred worlds, they belong to our side. The ancient sacred religion and the ancestor mother religion have been infiltrating in the dark and are completely suppressed. It is hard for us to contribute much. Destroying a base would only give us so little contribution points. Hence, it is better for me to go to the primal chaos void. Dongbua Shuang thought. Both parties did not have absolute control over the primal chaos void. Over here. Dongbua Shuang soon set his sights on the biggest land in the primal chaos void, the Nine Cloud Great Land. The Nine Cloud Great Land was a slightly bigger piece when the primitive ancient sacred world shattered. Its surface area was 1/20th the size of the 7-star oceanic sacred world. One had to know that the 7-star oceanic sacred world was vast. It was practically boundless. Even if it was 1/20th the size, this 9-cloud great land was still ridiculously huge. There were countless beings living within. It was also the place where the ancient sacred religion and the ancestor mother religion fought the most intensely with the other 3 great sacred worlds. The more intense the battle, the more opportunities to earn contribution points would be. If there was a day when they could wipe out the other 2 great religions in the 9-cloud great land, much less the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, even that the Eternal Heart would be something Wu Zhu would be willing to refine. Chapter 861. There were some final realm existences who were not willing to participate in the battle between the 2 superpowers like Myriad Realm Tavern Master. The few of them would usually reside in the primal chaos void. Because in the past when the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, for instance, a certain fragment or a unique location within the primitive ancient sacred world was not destroyed in the explosion and drifted into the primal chaos void. Hence, in the vast primal chaos void, other than ordinary land and cosmos, there were some unique locations where cosmos gods were willing to reside for a long period of time. The 9-cloud great land was the largest fragment of the primitive ancient sacred world other than the ancient sacred world. There was also a cosmos god, Junyi Fazu, who resided there. Although Junyi Fazu lived there, it was quite aloof and did not participate in the battle between the 2 forces. In addition, there were too few final realm existences. They either had to protect the sacred world or head to the boundary of the void. The 9-cloud great land, which was only 1/20th the size of the 7-star oceanic sacred world, was only at the primal chaos realm. And as an inner hall elder, Dongbua Shuang had a protective treasure. The moment he activated it, he would be able to hold on for some time against a primal chaos realm giant. As long as he was careful, the 9-cloud great land was more suitable for him to fight. However, I have too few tricks up my sleeve. I only have the dark bubble, and once I use it, the enemy will immediately know my identity. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Due to the fact that there were traces of powerhouses from the ancient saint cult involved in the assassination, the other party could easily observe the situation of the battle and knew about his dark bubble technique. If an expert really went to the Myriad Worlds Tavern to hire an assassin to deal with him. If he were to be exposed in the Nine-Cloud Great Land, it was highly possible that he would attract the primal chaos experts of the ancient sacred religion to attack him. It's best not to expose yourself. Dongbu Shuang pondered. If they met with any danger in the seven-star oceanic sacred world, Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master and the others would be able to descend immediately. But the distant Nine-Cloud Great Land was located deep within the primal chaos void, and it would take some time to rush over. Let's go challenge the 6th floor. Dongbu Shuang soared into the sky. Following the hole in the sky, he flew up to the higher 6th level. The 6th level of the Star Tower was a desolate desert. In the desert, there were scattered green plants with tenacious life force. Suddenly, a blood-colored flowing light appeared in the desert. The blood-colored flowing light gathered and formed an enchanting lady wearing blood-colored armor. Another one? Dongbu Shuang mumbled to himself. There was only a single blood-armored enemy at the 4th, 5th, and 6th level. But after chatting with Forefather Tianyu, Shuang knew that the Destruction Devils had varying strengths, from the 1st level Star Pagoda to the Cosmos God level. A little fellow at the Unity Realm? The blood-armored enchanting lady chuckled. At that moment, a majestic enchanting pink aura spread out, filling up the entire 6th level of Star Pagoda in an instant. No matter how strong the life force of the green plants in the desert was, they withered in an instant. This pink aura made Dongbu Shuang feel threatened. Although his law domain could withstand it, it was clearly strenuous. Hua! The blood-colored enchanting lady chuckled. Her figure turned into 9. With a flash, she tunneled into the law domain of Dongbu Shuang. The 9 blood-colored figures charged over at the same time. The battle was lost very quickly. Even though Dongbu Shuang could not discern the true body of the enemy, he could still unleash 6 dark bubbles. Some dark bubbles could envelop 2 figures of the enemy at the same time, allowing him to attack at once, destroying the other 8 incarnations of the enemy. But the remaining true body was not injured at all under the attack of a single dark bubble. Furthermore, it had already killed its way to the side of Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang was not confident of his teleportation. He immediately activated his protective treasure and admitted defeat. No other choice. This was how absolute arts from the dark world were. Usually, the enemy would die while they were still far away. But if the enemy were to get close to them, they would most likely be defeated. He flew out of the Star Pagoda. I should properly cultivate and improve my other aspects. If I were to head to the Nine-Cloud Great Land with just this move, it would be too disadvantageous for me. Furthermore, this move is too easy to recognize. Dongbu Shuang thought. For instance, the 13 apocalyptic swords could transform into all sorts of close combat killing moves, making it hard to recognize them. But the dark bubble could be recognized with a single glance. In the following days, Dongbu Shuang was not in a rush. He would frequently flip through the books in the Myriad Elephant Palace Hall. Even though he had memorized some of them, it was different when he looked at the original. Originally, there were traces left behind by the original expert, and it was more suitable for him to experience. He would also occasionally discuss the Tao with some inner hall elders, and even spar with them. After 2,000 years passed in the Star Pagoda, Dongbu Shuang made ample preparations and entered the Palace Hall of Time to cultivate again. The price of a Unity Realm expert in the Palace Hall of Time was much higher. 100 times acceleration of 100 million years would require a total of 25 Origin World rocks. Fortunately, it could be exchanged for 250,000 contribution points. It was relatively worth it to use contribution points. Dongbu Shuang was clearly calculative about this. He had to save up Origin World rocks. After all, his target was the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Time passed. Currently, he was at the Unity Realm, and his soul was much stronger than when he was at the origin birth realm. Comprehending the walker's hidden secret was much faster. During the first few days of entering the Palace Hall of Time, Dongbo Shuang mainly focused on cultivating the walker's hidden secret. Because back in the Chia Incense Wood cultivation room, in the Celestial Water City, he had already cultivated the walker's hidden secret to the point where he was just a step away from breaking through. Everything was as expected. After cultivating for 66,000 years in the Palace Hall of Time, he broke through to the 31st level of the walker's hidden secret. He had officially stepped into the Unity Realm in the Voidwalker system. Within the Palace Hall of Time, on the green grassland planet, Dongbo Shuang sat cross-legged on the grassland. There was a layer of pitch-black primal chaos void energy on the surface of his body. His body was currently undergoing a metamorphosis, and he was stepping into another huge realm. Stepping into the next level is indeed different. Dongbo Shuang opened his mouth. He spat out a rainbow-colored light. The moment he spat it out, the rainbow-colored light started dissipating. Now, I should focus on comprehending the laws and profound mysteries. The reason why he chose to improve the Voidwalker system was firstly because he was close to breaking through. Secondly, the metamorphosis of this system would be beneficial to his soul. A stronger soul would allow him to cultivate faster. Dongbo Shuang was very confident of himself. Even though he might be weaker in the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Ripple as compared to the Tao of Mirage, it wasn't hard for him to reach the 5th level of Star Pagoda strength in these two aspects as long as he spent some time. After all, he had previously relied on the 13 apocalyptic swords to get through the 3rd level at the origin birth realm. Time passed. The Great Void Heaven Temple would recruit disciples once every 100 million years in the 12 primal chaos cities. Close to 90 million years after Dongbo Shuang entered closed-door cultivation, a new batch of disciples arrived. The Great Void Heaven Temple. The group of true God disciples looked at the many floating mountains in the distance, especially at the towering palace located at the center. The light from the palace illuminated the entire space. That light shone on the bodies of these true God disciples, causing them to feel even more nervous and excited. They had arrived. They had finally succeeded in entering the holy ground Great Void Heaven Temple. How difficult was it to enter the holy ground? All of them were extremely talented and had experienced many trials. You have just entered the Sky Palace, so you must not barge in recklessly. Some places are where the violet-robed disciples stay. Some are where the golden-robed disciples and inner hall elders and hall masters stay. Barging in without permission will result in severe punishment. The leading outer hall elder said, "Follow me." Amidst this large group of disciples, there was a couple that came from the Celestial Water City, Lei Chen and Qing Rua. I wonder where is Elder Dongbo staying? The relatively muscular Lei Chen asked. The two of them had passed the trials after much difficulty and became the most ordinary disciples of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Elder Dongbo, you know Elder Dongbo? A true God disciple asked. Elder Dongbo has done us a great favor. Lei Chen and Qing Rua said. The two of you are quite fortunate to be acquainted with Elder Dongbo, this true God disciple said. Elder Dongbo is an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple. He immediately got through the 5th level of Star Pagoda after breaking through to the Unity Realm. His talent is heaven-defying, and in the future, he will likely become a hall master of our Great Void Heaven Temple. I, Yen Qiong, aim to become an existence like Elder Dongbo. He really dares to say that. He is truly arrogant. Quite a few of these true God disciples had some background. After all, with a background and a good cultivation environment, it would be more likely for them to pass the trials of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Those with some background had heard of that heaven-defying Elder Dongbo. Quite a few of them were secretly hoping that they could become as dazzling as Elder Dongbo. But they could only think about it in their hearts. If they were to say it out in public, they would still be mocked by others. After all, since the establishment of the Great Void Heaven Temple until now, the number of people who were as heaven-defying as Elder Dongbo could be counted with one's fingers. After Lei Chen and Qing Rua stayed in the Great Void Heaven Temple, they went to visit Dongbo Shuang. It's a pity that Dongbu Shuang was in closed-door cultivation. This time, Dongbu Shuang was in closed-door cultivation for the longest period of time. A total of 180 million years. This was the time in the outside world. Dongbu Shuang had cultivated for a total of 18 billion years within the Palace Hall of Time. It was because he was going to travel to the distant Nine-Cloud Great Land in the primal chaos void. Naturally, he had to make sufficient preparations in all aspects. He was temporarily stuck at a bottleneck and could no longer advance. Only then did he choose to leave. Who? Outside the Palace Hall of Time, a white-robed Dongbu Shuang appeared. The young man bowed respectfully and retreated. Nine-Cloud Great Land. Dongbu Shuang closely followed and began receiving missions through the communication talisman. Experts from the Seven-Star Oceanic Sacred World, Eastern Unicorn's Sacred World, and myriad ancient sacred world had entered the Nine-Cloud Great Land. The ancient sacred religion and ancestor mother religion had similarly infiltrated into the Nine-Cloud Great Land. After accepting the mission, Dongbu Shuang spent some time familiarizing himself with these flying knives, and after he finished a pot of wine, he stood up. If a friend comes to see me, tell them that I'm out, and I'll be out for a long time. Dongbu Shuang said. Yes. The green-robed female servant respectfully acknowledged. At the same time, she mumbled inwardly, this master of mine really can't stop. He had just come out from closed-door cultivation, yet he was about to leave again. The other inner hall elders were much more relaxed. Who? The green-robed female servant sent off Dongbu Shuang with her eyes. What she did not know was that while other experts did not care about time, Dongbu Shuang had been cultivating in the Palace Hall of Time for the sake of saving time. He was someone who could not afford to waste time. This time when Dongbu Shuang came out of closed-door cultivation, many true God disciples saw him. Naturally, some inner hall elders invited Dongbu Shuang to meet them. Even Lei Chengqing Rua and Lei Chengqing Rua came to pay their respects. It's a pity that only when they came did they find out that Dongbu Shuang had left, and it seemed to have been a long time. To a powerful cultivator, saying that it had been a long time was an exaggeration. The Nine-Cloud Great Land was vast and contained many experts. Even if a primal chaos giant tore through the time-space tunnel and rushed over, it would take a very long time to travel across the entire Nine-Cloud Great Land. Furthermore, the strongest existence living in seclusion on the Nine-Cloud Great Land, the cosmos god Junyi Fazu, had long given the order to forbid the construction of spatial teleportation arrays. Just like how the 5 great sacred worlds had a large number of teleportation arrays, it was hard for one to travel, yet the Nine-Cloud Great Land did not have any teleportation arrays, making it even harder to travel. This was also the reason why Junyi Fazu had increased the difficulty for the 2 superpowers to infiltrate the Nine-Cloud Great Land. Without the teleportation arrays, the true apex experts sent over by the 2 superpowers were few in number. As for the ordinary experts, they could not shake the entire Nine-Cloud Great Land. After all, there were many native experts, and there were even primal chaos giants emerging. Hong Long Long, a white-robed white-haired male figure appeared in the distorted space. Following that, the surrounding space began recovering. Nine-Cloud Great Land. This white-robed white-haired male wore a silver mask on his face, turning his hair white. Furthermore, he wore a mask so that his appearance would not be recognized. He was still quite vigilant against the ancient sacred religion. Looking around him, the law suppression of this world was extremely strong. It was only slightly weaker than the 7-star oceanic sacred world. Furthermore, the vast aura of this world seemed more comfortable. It is indeed a remnant piece of the primitive ancient sacred world. Even though it is slightly smaller than the sacred world, the aura here is nourishing to the soul. It is of great help to some of the weaker life forms. As for void gods, it is negligible. Dongbu Shuang deduced inwardly. The cultivation at the lowest level of the Nine-Cloud Great Land was much more formidable than in the sacred world. It is easy to reach the Nine-Cloud Great Land since Inquisitive Sky Hall Master helped me teleport over. But returning back is troublesome. Dongbua Shuang felt helpless. There were very few primal chaos giants in the entire Nine-Cloud Great Land. There was not a single one who knew how to teleport through an ultra-long distance. Even though Junyi Fazu was a cosmos god, he could not do it. If he wanted to return to the Great Void Heaven Temple, he could only travel through the primal chaos void. And Nine-Cloud Great Land, the danger here isn't as high as the boundary of the void. It is still suitable for me. I'll do my best and earn as many Origin World rocks as possible here. Dongbua Shuang thought. South Dongbua Shuaying's figure disappeared. He began moving through the void. Even though his current attainments in the Voidwalker lineage allowed him to tear through a time-space tunnel, as Dongbua Shuang had to observe carefully, he had to determine his surrounding position first. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master's ultra-long distance teleportation would result in a huge deviation. Furthermore, the map of the Nine-Cloud Great Land given by the Great Void Heaven Temple was too simple. It only recorded some important locations and superpowers. As for the weaker superpowers, there were too many changes. A luxurious ship was flying in the sky. There were many protectors on board. These protectors were all at the true god level, and the captain of the protectors standing by the side of the ship was even at the void god level. There are a total of 9 void gods on this ship, and there is even a Unity Realm expert. He must be quite a superpower. Dongbua Shuang, who was currently traveling through the void to ascertain his location, immediately discovered this ship through the void. Those at the Unity Realm were considered experts in the 5 great sacred worlds, and were naturally experts in the Nine-Cloud Great Land too. If they were in small places like the Primal Chaos Land or within the cosmos, they would be unparalleled overlords. Impudent. When Dongbua Shuang appeared in front of the ship, the protectors on the ship could not help but roar out. Even though they roared, these protectors understood that this white-robed white-haired male was not someone to be trifled with because most Unity Realm experts could teleport. Naturally, some Origin Birth Realm experts who specialized in the void could do it too. No matter what, he was considered an expert. Very soon, a group of people came out from within the ship. The leader was a red-robed girl. Her eyes were bright and beautiful. She looked at the white-robed white-haired male outside the ship. Who are you? You dare to obstruct the worship of my Sky Sword Mountain? The red-robed girl said. Chapter 863. Heavenly Sword Mountain. Dongbua Shuang felt his heart jolting. Even though Inquisitive Sky Hall Master's ultra-long distance teleportation deviation was huge, it was still possible to delineate the approximate region. And within this region, there was a relatively big superpower called the Sky Sword Mountain. The leader of this superpower, Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master, was a Unity Realm expert who had cultivated for a very long time. According to the intelligence reports of the Great Void Heaven Temple, the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master should be at the 4th level Star Pagoda strength. Usually, those who could pass through the 3rd level would be at the peak of the Unity Realm, and they would be able to slaughter a large group of ordinary Unity Realm experts. For him to be able to pass through the 4th level, usually, he would be an unparalleled existence at the Unity Realm like the Inner Hall Elders of the Great Void Heaven Temple. That was why the Great Void Heaven Temple had records of Heavenly Sword Mountain. Standing at the front of the ship, Dongbua Shuang asked, "May I know which direction is the Great Rosy Clouds Marsh?" The Great Rosy Clouds Marsh was also in this area. The other party was a force of Heavenly Sword Mountain. He couldn't just ask for directions to Heavenly Sword Mountain, right? You actually don't know where the Great Rosy Clouds Marsh is? Beside the red-robed girl, an old man shouted, "You are also a Unity Realm expert. Don't you even have a map of the surrounding area? Are you toying with us?" As a member of Heavenly Sword Mountain's upper echelon, he naturally had the confidence to shout. Heavenly Sword Mountain was an overlord in the surrounding area. I've been in seclusion for too long, and I've only just made a breakthrough. I haven't been to many places before this, so it's true that I don't know. Dongbo Shuang smiled and asked again, "Can you tell me the direction of the Great Rosy Clouds Marsh?" Humph. The old man stared at Dongbo Shuang with suspicion. "Uncle Chuan, he's just asking for directions." The red-clothed lady smiled and pointed to the left. "The Rosy Clouds Pool is in that direction. An ordinary Unity Realm expert would be able to reach it within a month by traveling through the void." Dongbo Shuang nodded, "Thank you." So, he disappeared into thin air. The red-clothed woman watched as the white-clothed, white-haired, silver-masked man in front of the ship disappeared just like that. She could not help but feel somewhat stunned. Are they really here to ask for directions? The elder was also somewhat puzzled. At the same time, he carefully inspected his surroundings. Perhaps, he might have broken through to the Unity Realm. Previously, his strength was low and he rarely ventured outside. This is also normal. The red-robed girl said. "Let's go. We are about to reach the Heavenly Sword Mountain. It has been a long time since I last saw father."
Swoosh. The huge ship continued to fly and quickly entered the void, advancing at high speed in the void. Dongbo Shuang reappeared at the same spot. They should be heading towards Heavenly Sword Mountain. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself. Although the ship had already entered the void, he could still clearly sense the traces left behind by the other party as they traveled through the void. The direction of the Great Rosy Clouds Marsh. That red-robed woman wasn't lying. With reference to the position of the sun in the sky and the direction of the Great Rosy Clouds Pool, Dongbo Shuang was able to determine his current location. Naturally, he could also deduce the direction of Heavenly Sword Mountain. Judging from the direction the enemy ship was flying in, it was also in the direction of Heavenly Sword Mountain. Let's go to Heavenly Sword Mountain. Dongbo Shuang thought. Heavenly Sword Mountain is practically the strongest religion in this region. The sect master of Heavenly Sword Mountain is extremely powerful. I have to think of a way to determine if he is a believer of the two religions. Dongbo Shuang thought. If he could ascertain that he was a believer of the two religions, his soul would be branded. Naturally, he would be killed without mercy. But it was difficult to ascertain the identity of the other party. That was because the soul brand was usually concealed. Even though the three great sacred worlds had researched a secret technique that could detect it, it was extremely difficult. Even with Dongbo Shuaying's comprehension ability, he had spent more than 100 million years in the Palace Hall of Time to learn it. The difficulty of investigating the believers of the Ancestor Mother was relatively low. It was even harder to investigate the believers of the Sacred Master. The Sacred Master had brilliant techniques, and it was extremely difficult to investigate the soul brand he left on the believer. Usually, he had to completely seal the strength of the other party so that the other party could not retaliate. Only then could he investigate the other party's soul. The ship was traveling through the void. The red-robed girl stood on the deck of the ship. Looking at the surrounding distorted void, she had a smile on her face. We are reaching the Heavenly Sword Mountain soon. The sect master will definitely be happy knowing that you have broken through to the void god realm this time. The old man chuckled by the side. Amen, the red-robed girl nodded. Suddenly, the void in front of them distorted. A huge hand grabbed hold of the ship, causing the ship to shake violently and stop. What is happening? The red-robed girl and the old man were both startled. The surrounding protectors were also greatly alarmed. If one said that Dongbo Shuang was considered gentle when he traveled through the void to intercept them, then at this moment, it was clearly much more tyrannical.
The ship was pulled out from the void and into the real world. The ship stopped in midair. There were 3 figures standing in midair ahead. They were all at the Unity Realm. They are the 3 elders from the Blaze Valley. The old man was greatly startled when he saw that. He immediately transmitted to the red-robed girl by the side, "The elders from the Blaze Valley have actually arrived at the entrance of my Sky Sword Mountain. The situation isn't good. In a while, you should hurry up and escape. I'll hold them back." The old man said with a clear voice, "The three of you, why are you obstructing the worship of my Sky Sword Mountain?" "Huh, Sky Sword Mountain. Soon, there will be no more Sky Sword Mountain. I was still wondering who alerted our warning array. So it is the precious daughter of Old Ghost Sky Sword. Huh, capture her alive." The three elders from the Blaze Valley were relatively happy. Their voices were still reverberating when a huge red silk net appeared in the surroundings. This silk net covered the sky and enveloped the entire ship. Even the void had been sealed. Clearly, they were very cunning. They were speaking on the surface, but in reality, they had acted in the dark. The old man roared furiously as he turned into a thunderbolt that clashed against the silk net above. Nevertheless, the fiery red silk net was incomparably firm, and the thunderbolt could not break through it at all. "None of you can escape." One of the three elders from the Blaze Valley opened his mouth, spurting out black fog. The black fog was not obstructed by the silk net at all. It directly permeated through and wrapped around the red-robed girl. Clearly, he wanted to capture her. Saying it was slow, but the black fog permeated through at lightning speed. Only that old man who turned into a thunderbolt clashed against the black fog, yet he could not move it at all. How could this be? At this moment, the red-robed girl's heart was filled with fear and unease. This was because she remembered the words of the other party, "Soon, there will be no more Sky Sword Mountain." Moreover, they were clearly at the outer perimeter of the Sky Sword Mountain, yet the other party was actually able to set up a warning array here. Clearly, the internal situation of the Sky Sword Mountain was very bad. The thunderbolt and the black fog clashed. However, the black fog was slightly superior as it continued to wrap around the red-robed girl. Suddenly, wha! A dazzling sword light arced across the sky and broke through the fiery red silk net that covered the sky. It also broke through the black fog. The profound mysteries contained within the sword light easily caused the black fog to dissipate. The sky regained its sunny state. A white-haired white-robed man who was wearing a mask walked out from the void and looked at the three elders from the Blaze Valley. "It's him." The red-robed girl, the old man, and the guards who were originally in despair looked at the white-haired white-robed man in shock. They recognized him as the one who asked for directions earlier. We are the elders of the Blaze Valley." The three elders could feel the formless pressure and restriction in the surrounding void. Furthermore, the might of the sword light earlier had caused them to tremble. They understood that the person in front of them was at least in existence at the peak of the Unity Realm. He wasn't someone they could fight against. "Please kill them. They are the mortal enemies of my Sky Sword Mountain," the old man on the ship said. The Sky Sword Mountain and the Blaze Valley were indeed mortal enemies. "Spare us. We have no intention of offending Senior," the three elders said hurriedly. Their attitudes were very humble because if that sword light were to strike again, they would have died. "Hand over all your treasures and I will spare your lives," Dongbua Shuang said. The three elders were stunned. Following which, they did not hesitate to take out all their treasures. Even their storage wristbands and weapons were taken out. Even their robes were condensed using their void divine energy. "That's all. We have taken out all our treasures," the three elders said. As long as they could survive, why would they care about treasures? If they lost their lives, everything would be gone. "Let's go." Dongbua Shuang felt that the three elders were rather tactful. He flipped his hand and kept all the treasures. The Sky Sword Mountain and Blaze Valley were mortal enemies. This had nothing to do with him. It was already not bad that he could save them after asking for directions. As for the conflict between the Sky Sword Mountain and Blaze Valley, he could not be bothered. He would only kill the believers of the two great religions and some true devils. As for those who wanted to kill him, he would get rid of them as well. As for those ordinary conflicts of gratitude and grudges, unless it involved him, there was no need for him to bother about them. "It's fine as long as I can get the treasures." Dongbua Shuang chuckled. Ever since he came to the Nine-Cloud Great Land, he had decided to plunder more treasures. Chapter 864. He actually let him go. The elder was slightly anxious. The red-robed girl sighed inwardly. According to their thoughts, they would naturally kill the Blaze Valley elder. However, it was obvious that this mysterious expert had no killing intent towards the Blaze Valley. Father. The red-robed girl used a communication treasure to send a message to her father. What happened to the Sky Sword Mountain? EZ, cultivate outside and don't come back. The Sky Sword Mountain was ambushed by the Blaze Valley. I am currently dealing with the Blaze Valley Master. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master didn't get distracted after sending the message. The current situation was much worse than what he had described. The Blaze Valley had prepared for a long time this time. There were experts who entered the Blaze Valley with the identity of a consecrator. They even used the Silver Silk Soul leading poison to ambush him. Following which, the battle erupted. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master's strength was originally on par with the Blaze Valley Masters. The Blaze Valley had prepared for a long period of time, sparing no expense to buy the Silver Silk Soul leading poison, and had even succeeded in their plot. Now that they had launched a surprise attack, the Blaze Valley had the absolute advantage. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was currently doing his best to resist, but in reality, he was already at an absolute disadvantage. Who? The distant Dongbush Shuang kept the treasure. The red-robed girl said, Senior, this junior is EZ, the daughter of the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master. Now that my Sky Sword Mountain is facing a calamity, this junior is shamelessly requesting Senior to help my Sky Sword Mountain overcome this crisis. She could feel that this mysterious expert had a good impression of her. Hence, she could only shamelessly ask for help. Ask me to help? Why? Dongbush Shuang said. The red-robed girl was slightly embarrassed. She said, after this matter is resolved, my father will definitely thank you. Senior, you saved us. We will never forget your kindness. Now that Heaven's Sword Mountain is facing a great calamity, we are all anxious. However, we have no choice but to beg Senior, the old man beside him pleaded respectfully. His face was filled with anxiety as well. However, his heart was very calm. Which old man who could cultivate to the Unity Realm was a fool? He knew the character of the person in front of him. Hence, he used gratitude and friendship to persuade him. With just a few words, you want me to risk my life? Ha ha ha. Dongbush Shuang laughed casually, let me give you a piece of advice. The Sky Sword Mountain is currently at a disadvantage. I'm afraid it won't be long before it gets destroyed. With your strength, you will only be sending yourselves to death. With that, Dongbush Shuang vanished into thin air. Why did he leave? He left. He said that my Heavenly Sword Mountain will be destroyed soon. EZ and the rest were a little flustered. At this moment, they did not dare to send a message to their Grandmaster. After all, their Grandmaster was fighting with the Blaze Valley Master. As a result, they sent a message to the other upper echelons of Heavenly Sword Mountain. Soon, the news came. The situation was extremely bad. Although the battle had just erupted, Heavenly Sword Mountain was already at an absolute disadvantage. Some of the reverends and elders were trying to think of a way to escape. Mirage World. Dongbush Ying's body was hidden in the void as he slowly walked forward. With his current attainments in the mirage and the concealment techniques of the Voidwalkers, the two forces fighting on the Sky Sword Mountain would not be able to detect him. An unseen ripple enveloped the entire Sky Sword Mountain. This was the strongest domain-related absolute art of the Holy Land Great Void Heaven Temple, Plate Ripple Diagram. As the only ripple-related cosmos-ranked absolute art, the domain it covered was extremely vast. In addition, the law suppression of the Nine-Cloud Great Land was slightly weaker than that of the Sacred World. Dongbush Ying's current plate ripple diagram domain covered a total of 150 million kilometers. All the experts on the Sky Sword Mountain were within his scouting range. Previously, he had made use of his scouting to ascertain the situation before persuading that young lady to leave. The reason why he did not agree to help the Sky Sword Mountain was because, in the eyes of Dongbu Shuang, the Sky Sword Mountain and Blaze Valley were targets that he wanted to scout. As long as they were believers of the two great religions, he would kill them all. Furthermore, with his current strength, it was not suitable for him to bring the young lady and the others along. The Sky Sword Mountain sect master seems to be injured. He is completely suppressed. He shouldn't be able to hold on for long. Dongbu Shuang observed through the ripples. There is a peak Unity Realm expert here. He seems to be from the Blaze Valley. South. Dongbu Shuang teleported over. Within a dilapidated hall of the Sky Sword Mountain, a group of cultivators were gathered together. Among them, there were 5 Unity Realm experts who were working together. An array appeared and revolved above them. There was also a black snake constantly slithering in the surroundings. There was also a dazzling radiance being emitted from one of the Unity Realm experts, illuminating the surroundings. The 3 peak masters can still hold on. It is a pity that your Supreme Elder is already dead. Your sect master has even been poisoned by the Silver Silk Soul-eating poison. When our Valley Master arrives, he will be able to easily crush all of you. A black-robed expert with a bull's head spoke with a booming voice. He was rather pleased with himself. Occasionally, he would see some Sky Sword Mountain disciples fleeing for their lives. With a wave of his hand, a black flame would fly out and engulf those Sky Sword Mountain disciples. Those Sky Sword Mountain disciples could only let out a terrified scream before they turned into ashes. Boom, boom. Occasionally, there would be some explosions in different regions of the Sky Sword Mountain. After all, this was the headquarters of the Sky Sword Mountain. There were still many arrays around. Clearly, the disciples of the Sky Sword Mountain were fighting to the best of their abilities. The Blaze Valley's side had also suffered some losses. It is a pity that the Supreme Elder has been surrounded and killed by them. Sect Master has even been poisoned. The 3 peak masters, 2 elders, and the disciples were desperately holding on. All of them felt a chill in their hearts. Amen. The black-robed expert with a bull's head looked into the distance. Even though their side had made ample preparations, their losses were still rather huge. Lao Yu is bent on annihilating the Sky Sword Mountain. The Sky Sword Mountain has existed for so long. No matter how well prepared they are, the price they have to pay to completely annihilate them is not small. Occasionally, he would unleash black flames which streaked across the sky and attacked the disciples of the Sky Sword Mountain. This scene caused the 3 peak masters and the other experts of the Sky Sword Mountain to be filled with rage. Because the sect that they treated as their home was currently facing annihilation. Many disciples were being slaughtered. Damn it! What should we do? What should we do? All of them were anxious and helpless. If they focused on defending, they could still barely hold on. If they were to escape, the Blaze Valley's Vice Valley Master would naturally take the opportunity to kill them. Suddenly, they looked in shock as a white-robed white-haired male walked out from the void. He was wearing a mask and wielding a sword with a single hand. He slashed out furiously at the black-robed expert with a sword. At this moment, the black-robed expert with a bull's head felt as if his entire body had fallen into a swamp. Layers of restraints were entangling him, causing his movements to become much slower. One could see that sword light directly slashing on his body. Peng, his entire body was sent flying. He clashed against the wall of this broken palace hall. What? He was defeated in a single move. The 3 peak masters and the other cultivators of the Sky Sword Mountain felt a desire to live when they saw this. What is going on? The black-robed expert with a bull's head was still in a daze. What he did not know was that with Dongbu Ying's current attainments in the plate ripple diagram, he had reached the 5th level Star Pagoda standard. If Dongbu Ying used his full strength to suppress him, not only would he not be able to move, he would even be crushed to death. The gap between the 3rd and 5th level Star Pagoda was just like how a peak Unity Realm expert could slaughter ordinary Unity Realm experts. The gap was too huge. This plate ripple diagram was the strongest domain-type absolute art. By relying on it, it had reached the boundary of the primal chaos realm. This black-robed expert with a bull's head was naturally at the mercy of Dongbui Shuang. But Dongbui Shuang had to restrain himself since he could not be recognized by the two great religions. Wang! Dongbui Shuang sent the black-robed expert flying with a sword. He saw the eyes of the black-robed expert with a dazed look. Clearly, he had fallen for the mirage illusory technique. After falling for the illusory technique, he could no longer resist. That was why he could execute a secret technique to investigate. Let's see if he is a believer of the two great religions. Dongbui Shuang thought. He stealthily executed the secret technique, tunneling into the body of the black-robed expert and piercing into the soul of the other party without any resistance. Chapter 865. A green brand appeared on the soul of the black-robed bull-headed expert. This made Dongbui Shuang feel goosebumps in his heart, a believer of the ancestor mother. The first person I investigated after coming to the Heavenly Cloud continent is a believer of the ancestor mother. According to the intelligence gathered before coming, the Heavenly Cloud continent was dominated by native experts. The two great religions and the three great sacred worlds only had a small influence since the number of experts they sent over was too little. Hong. In the eyes of others, after Dongbui Shuang sent the black-robed bull-headed expert flying with a sword, he followed up with a series of sword lights. Many sword lights arced through the sky and enveloped the black-robed bull-headed expert, directly killing him on the spot. Good. Truly formidable. The three peak masters, two elders, and a group of disciples of the Sky Sword Mountain were all excited. The one who died was the Blaze Valley's Vice Valley Master, the second strongest in the Blaze Valley. Yet, he was actually crushed and killed so easily. Many thanks, Senior, for saving my life. Many thanks, Senior. All of them respectfully expressed their gratitude. The sudden change from despair made them feel grateful towards Dongbui Shuang. Furthermore, they could determine that this mysterious expert in front of them was standing on their side. Dongbui Shuang nodded. He waved his hand and kept the treasures left behind by the black-robed bull-headed expert. He thought, this is the second strongest expert in the Blaze Valley, and he is a believer of the ancestor mother. That means the strongest valley master should be a believer of the ancestor mother too. According to his understanding, there were two scenarios for the two great religions to spread their religion on the nine-cloud great land. The first scenario was to spread their religion wantonly within their territory. Even the weak transcendents would have to worship the sacred master, ancestor mother. The second scenario was not within their territory, and they would not dare to do it openly. Otherwise, it would be easy for a religion to be exposed if everyone from the weak transcendents to the void gods were believers. The moment they were exposed, the three great sacred worlds would definitely send experts over and exterminate the entire religion. Hence, they would usually be more careful and concealed in places outside their territory. For instance, they would let the higher-ups of a religion become believers. Even though there were few higher-ups, their influence was huge. The Vice Valley Master was a believer. The Valley Master was probably a believer too. Senior, our Heavenly Sword Mountain is currently facing a great calamity. Our Sect Master is also facing a dangerous situation. I wonder if Senior is able to lend us a hand and help our Sect Master. One of the Peak Masters said hastily. The others were also begging for his help. To be able to easily defeat the Blaze Valley's Deputy Valley Master, his strength was probably on the same level as his Sect Master and the Blaze Valley Master. Even if there was a difference, it wouldn't be by much. Although the Vice Valley Master had been killed, the Blaze Valley Master was the strongest. If he didn't die, the Sky Sword Mountain could still be destroyed. Valley Master of Blaze Valley? I heard that he's extremely powerful. Dongbui Shuang hesitated. Let's go and take a look. Let's go. Hurry, hurry, hurry. None of the people present dared to hope that this mysterious expert would agree immediately. It was already good enough that he was willing to go and take a look. Very soon, Dongbui Shuang and the others arced through the sky and arrived at the place where the battle in the Sky Sword Mountain was the most intense. Far away in midair, the Sky Sword Mountain sect master was currently engaged in a life-and-death battle with the Blaze Valley master. Although he was flying over, Dongbui Shuang was actually executing his mirage and illusion technique to deal with the two Unity Realm experts of the Blaze Valley who were closest to him. At the moment when they fell into an illusion, Dongbui Shuang had also executed a secret technique to invade their souls. They aren't believers. Dongbui Shuang consecutively checked on the two of them. After ascertaining that they weren't believers, he immediately sent them out of the illusion, causing the two Unity Realm experts to feel fear. Not good. Sect Master is in danger. When Dongbui Shuang was secretly checking on the two of them, the three Peak Masters were anxiously watching the battle from afar. They could tell that their sect master was in a terrible situation. Senior Master actually died? The Blaze Valley Master who was currently battling was a tall and big red-haired teenager. His entire body was covered in flames. He swept his gaze across the distant Shuang. So it is this silver-masked male who killed Teacher Uncle? However, there is no need to infuriate this mysterious expert. I will first use all my strength to deal with Old Ghost Sky Sword. Hong Hong, the Blaze Valley Master's entire body was surging with flames. He was like a miniature sun star. Every move he made was filled with terrifying might. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was a black-robed middle-aged man. His combat techniques were much more abundant. If it was during normal times, he wouldn't care about the Blaze Valley Master. But at this moment... The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master could sense that some of the silver threads had already tunneled into his soul. They were constantly tunneling, causing his soul to feel intense pain. Sometimes, he would even feel dizzy. This caused the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master to be unable to fight with all his strength. That was because moves that were too profound would exhaust a lot of his energy. He would defend with all his strength and would only attack occasionally. At the start, it was still fine. But as the battle progressed, the silver thread soul-leading poison was seeping deeper and deeper into his soul, causing him to feel dizzy more and more frequently. Sect Master, an expert wearing a silver mask with white hair and white robes, has appeared. He defeated that stupid cow from the Blaze Valley in a single move. Now, he has even killed him. When the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master first received this news, he was extremely excited. Because the poison was constantly worsening, he thought that it would be hard for him to escape this calamity. The entire Sky Sword Mountain might even be annihilated. But now, hope had appeared. It's him. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master had also noticed the white-robed, white-haired man who was together with the three Peak Masters. Ask him to make a move. Hurry up and ask him to make a move. Don't hesitate to pay any price. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master transmitted. Dongbui Shuang stood there and listened to the advice of the three Peak Masters. He frowned and shook his head. This Blaze Valley Master's strength is extremely profound. Let me observe a little longer and understand more of his techniques. We can't wait any longer. Our sect master can't hold on any longer. The three Peak Masters were very anxious. They knew that, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. The more they observed and understood the techniques of the Blaze Valley Master, the more confident they would be during the battle. But their sect master might be finished at any moment. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was also very anxious. He couldn't help but feel dizzy. He forcefully produced sword light on the surface of his body to block the claw of the Blaze Valley Master. That claw caused many sword lights to shatter. A piece of flesh was torn from the chest of the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master. However, he managed to hold on. This is an all-out attack. I can't divert my attention to suppress the soul poison. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master could feel the silver threads seeping into his soul. Father, I heard that a white-haired, white-robed expert wearing a silver mask killed the Vice Valley Master of the Blaze Valley. This expert is the one who saved me previously. I feel that if we want to ask for his help, we can only take out our treasures. He has one weakness, and that is, he is a little greedy. Previously, he dealt with 3 elders of the Blaze Valley and let them go, but he took away all their treasures, even their robes and weapons. His daughter, Ez, transmitted. This caused the Sky Sword Mountain sect master's heart to turn cold. Greedy? Great, I'm just afraid that he isn't greedy. This friend, so you saved my daughter previously and saved the Peak Masters. My Sky Sword Mountain is facing a huge crisis, and I hope that you can help me. After this matter is over, I am willing to give you all my treasures to thank you. The value of the treasures will definitely not be lower than 80 Origin World Rocks. The Sky Sword Mountain sect master said loudly. In the distance. The originally hesitant Dongbui Shuang immediately said, since that's the case, I shall risk my life and fight. Chapter 866. Dongbui Shuang dashed out instantly. The sword in his hand turned into a blinding sword light as it pierced towards the Blaze Valley Master. The Master of the Valley of Blazes' expression instantly changed. The lifespan of cultivators was very long because most of them were very cautious. If they weren't confident, they wouldn't easily intervene in a battle that had nothing to do with them. Otherwise, if he were to accidentally lose his life in a life or death battle, then everything would be for naught, and no matter how many treasures he had, it would be useless. Even if you want the treasure, you won't have the life to enjoy it. When the Blaze Valley Master forced the Sky Sword Mountain sect master back with a punch, he flipped his hand and used his most ferocious killing move. Boom Shuang only felt his vision brightening up. Amidst the dazzling flames, there were layers of fist shadows that brought along an unending stream of power. Some of the weaker Unity Realm experts, even if there were more than 100 of them, would still be smashed into smithereens by this fist. Shuang was greatly startled. He immediately unleashed his sword light in an arc to parry against this horrifying chain of fist shadows. Following the collision, Dongbui Shuang was also sent flying backwards. His body slammed into a mountain peak, and with a pang, half of the mountain peak directly crumbled. Dongbui Shuang spat out a mouthful of blood. Not good. The 3 peak masters who were watching from the side were anxious. This expert's strength seems to be weaker than the Blaze Valley Master. You think you can ruin my plans? Leave your puny life behind. The Blaze Valley Master's aura soared into the sky. The sect leader of the Sky Sword Mountain, who originally wanted to use this chance to suppress the Silver Silk soul-eating poison in his soul, panicked when he saw the situation. He hastily transmitted a message, "Be careful. The attacks of the Blaze Valley Master are extremely ferocious. However, he is still lacking in terms of movement techniques and exquisiteness. You must not fight him head-on." The sect master of Sky Sword Mountain was as immovable as a mountain. He only dared to take it head-on if his sword technique was strong enough. Therefore, just by looking at the battle between the Sky Sword Mountain sect master and the Blaze Valley Master, one would not be able to tell how ferocious the Blaze Valley Master's attack was. I'll join forces with you to get rid of him first. Heavenly Sword Mountain's sect master also understood that it would be difficult for him to win against this mysterious expert in a one-on-one battle. He could only grit his teeth and continue to endure. All right. Dongbui Shuang replied. He was deliberately disguising himself. He had long set a position for himself. He was a swordsman who specialized in domains and movement techniques, and his strength was at the 4th star pagoda level. Because there were quite a number of experts at this level in the 9-Cloud Great Land. If he were to reveal his 5th level Star Pagoda strength, the Sky Sword Mountain sect master and the others would likely inform others about it. Any 5th level Star Pagoda expert would attract the attention of the 3 great sacred worlds and the 2 great religions. Because there were very few at this level in the entire 9-Cloud Great Land. Just the appearance of one was already worthy of suspicion. Unless it was a native expert with a growth trajectory that could be followed, the two great religions and three great sacred worlds would not just ignore an unfamiliar expert like this. I was just testing his strength. Dongbui Shuang charged over once more. This time around, formless ripples spread out and enveloped the Blaze Valley Master, causing his expression to change. That was because his flying speed had been greatly reduced. This was after Dongbui Shuang had purposely concealed his true strength and was only able to unleash 10% of the plate ripple diagram's power. Hua hua hua. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master charged over. One could see many sword lights pressing down like a mountain. The Blaze Valley Master felt his every movement being restricted. He could only send a palm forward, but this palm was clearly slower, and its power had been greatly reduced. The continuous sword lights swept over, forcing the Blaze Valley Master to fly backwards. There was a wound on his chest, and fresh blood spurted out. And then, the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was slightly startled. He actually gained the upper hand in a direct clash. Following that, he felt his head spinning. But he gritted his teeth and continued executing his sword techniques. Show! And in the distant, Dongbui Ying's figure flashed as he charged towards the Blaze Valley Master. Such a powerful domain restriction. It's this mysterious expert. The Blaze Valley Master was a little anxious. He was dealing with the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master's sword technique once again, but Dongbui Ying's sword light had already slashed over. The Blaze Valley Master wasn't proficient in movement techniques. Now that he was restricted and had to divert his attention to defend against the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master, even though he used a single palm to block, that sword light still cleaved onto his body. Half of his body was destroyed, but his flame-like body rapidly grew back. Not good. The Blaze Valley Master's expression changed. Let's take this chance to kill him. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was a little agitated. Alright. Dongbui Shuang seemed to be filled with killing intent. This mysterious expert might be a little weak in frontal attacks, but his domain is extremely powerful. His sword techniques are also rather mystical. The Blaze Valley Master was anxious. This friend, isn't it because of the treasures? The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master is already deeply poisoned. As long as you and I work together, we will be able to kill him easily. At that time, all his treasures will belong to you. I am also willing to gift you treasures worth 80 Origin World Rocks. The Blaze Valley Master hurriedly said. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master's heart tightened. The three Peak Masters who were far away also became anxious. This mysterious expert was more greedy. For the sake of treasures, he was willing to participate in a life and death battle of the same level. And the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was definitely at a disadvantage against the Blaze Valley Master. If he were to really help the Blaze Valley Master, there was no doubt about the outcome of the battle. In fact, the battle might even become much easier. You are looking down on me too much. Dongbui Ying's voice was vast and mighty. The sharp sword in his hand didn't stop at all. Treasures worth 100 Origin World Rocks. These are all the treasures I have. I will give them all to you. The Blaze Valley Master shouted. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master and the others who had just relaxed instantly became anxious. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master was even more anxious. Because all the treasures he had were not even worth 100 Origin World Rocks. See Law, another ray of sword light. Under the collaboration of the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master, it heavily injured the Blaze Valley Master once again. It caused more than half of the Blaze Valley Master's body to be destroyed. This time, the recovery of his body was obviously much slower. Retreat! Everyone, retreat! The Blaze Valley Master was extremely unwilling. However, he still transmitted a message to his subordinates. As for himself, when he was being attacked by the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master, he had explosively retreated backwards. After leaving the region of the Law Domain, he immediately teleported. South, he rapidly escaped. Escaping? Dongbui Shuang immediately chased after the other party through the void. In terms of void penetration, Voidwalkers were simply unparalleled amongst those at the Unity Realm. They were completely comparable to the standards of many primal Chaos Realm giants. Who? The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master stopped. With a flash, he landed on a mountain peak and sat cross-legged. He was using all his strength to suppress the Silver Silk soul-eating poison in his body. He truly did not dare to continue chasing because his injuries were too severe. If he persisted any longer, he might directly faint during the battle. Once he fainted, he would not be able to suppress it. Then, the soul poison would continue to permeate his body, and he would definitely die. He did not wish to die. Protect me. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master ordered the 3 Peak Masters. Yes. The 3 protectors immediately protected him. The Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master did not care about the outside world as he focused on suppressing the soul poison. And across the entire Sky Sword Mountain, the Sky Sword Mountain disciples who were originally at a disadvantage and could only rely on their geographical advantage discovered that the experts from the Blaze Valley were actually retreating on a large scale. Batches of them converged with the Unity Realm experts before rapidly teleporting away. They are escaping. They originally thought that the entire Sky Sword Mountain was about to be exterminated, but now, the enemies were escaping. I hate so much. The Blaze Valley Master who was escaping through the void was filled with fury and unwillingness. He had prepared for a long time just for this. Ever since his teacher was schemed to death by the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master, he had always wanted to take revenge. He had been adventuring outside until he was comparable to the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master. Only then did he dare to return and rebuild the Blaze Valley. He had painstakingly obtained the Silver Silk soul-eating poison and arranged for the unfamiliar experts he recruited from the outside world to enter the Sky Sword Mountain with the identity of a worshipper. Gradually, he infiltrated the Blaze Valley. Step by step, he finally erupted today. For the sake of taking revenge, for the sake of exterminating the entire Sky Sword Mountain, he had paid too much. Furthermore, for the sake of completing the mission given by the Ancestor Mother religion, he had to eradicate the Sky Sword Mountain. But now, everything had failed. It was all because of that mysterious expert. Hong. The void trembled. Not good. The expression of the Blaze Valley Master changed. He was forcefully ejected out. A white-robed, white-haired, silver-masked male appeared in front of him. His void penetration is so much stronger than mine. The Blaze Valley Master was startled. If the other party's teleportation was comparable, it would be hard to obstruct him unless he had a clear advantage. But thinking about how the other party specialized in domains and body techniques, it was normal for the other party to have an advantage in the void. What he did not know was that if not for the sake of concealing his strength, Dongbui Shuang could even prevent the Blaze Valley Master from teleporting. Die. Dongbui Shuang utilized the plate ripple diagram to suppress the other party. He was also rapidly engaging in close combat. Blaze Valley Master's speed was slow to begin with. Now that he was restricted, he was struck by another sword. So it turns out that his strength is higher than mine. It was only because of this that I suffered a slight disadvantage in a head-on clash. Blaze Valley Master understood. He did not dare to continue fighting. He tried his best to teleport out of the law domain, but very soon, Dongbui Shuang intercepted him. I'll give you all my treasures. Spare my life. Blaze Valley Master began begging for mercy. The other party was greedy, and he might be able to live. Dongbui Shuang did not stop. Hong, yet another sword light broke through the hurried defense of Blaze Valley Master. It rapidly destroyed his body, but Dongbui Shuang's control of the sword light was extremely exquisite. It wrapped around the soul of the other party. Seal. Blaze Valley Master's body was completely destroyed. Only his soul was left behind, and it was still sealed. Dongbui Shuang waved his hand and kept all the treasures of Blaze Valley Master. Spare me, spare me. The soul of Blaze Valley Master was still begging for mercy. Wang. Dongbua Shuang coldly looked at him. He utilized his secret technique to investigate. At that moment, a green brand appeared on the soul of Blaze Valley Master. You are. Blaze Valley Master was startled. He finally knew that the person in front of him was an expert from the three great sacred worlds that were enemies with the ancestor mother religion and ancient sacred religion. All his disguises previously were fake. Only now did he reveal his true face. You are really a believer of the ancestor mother religion. Dongbua Shuang coldly said. One had to be careful when investigating because the other party would sense it. The moment he did so, he would immediately report to his superiors through his communication treasure. Hence, Dongbua Shuang sealed the soul of the other party, preventing him from reporting to his superiors. Furthermore, the other party's communication treasure had been taken by him. Hong! Dongbua Shuang flipped his hand, causing an unseen ripple to sweep across the soul of Blaze Valley Master. The other party's soul was directly destroyed. Chapter 867. Dongbua Shuang wasn't in a hurry. He traversed through the void and slowly made his way back. Sky Sword Mountain. Dongbua Shuang appeared from the void and looked at the Sky Sword Mountain in front of him. Currently, the Sky Sword Mountain was in ruins. There were many places where flames were still burning. Although the battle had ended, the Sky Sword Mountain had suffered huge losses. Even their supreme elder had died. Many peak lords, consecrators, and elders had died in battle. Not to mention a large number of disciples. South Dongbua Shui Ying's figure flashed and he arrived at the peak of a mountain. There was a group of experts gathered here. They were protecting a middle-aged man in black robes who was seated cross-legged in the middle. Senior. A sweet-sounding voice rang. Dongbua Shuang looked over and saw that it was the red-robed girl. Thank you, Senior, for your help. The red-robed girl EZ said gratefully, previously when I asked Senior to help, Senior left. I thought that Senior wasn't willing to help. Now that I think about it, it should be Senior who wasn't willing to bring us along. We would only be a burden. There's no need to thank me. Your sect head had agreed to give me treasures. It was only right for me to help. Dongbua Shuang said casually. The rest of the people present were rather grateful. Treasures? No matter how precious they were still external objects. If they were dead, treasures would be useless. To be able to help their Sky Sword Mountain under such a situation, not only did he save their sect head, he also saved the entire sect. Junior is ZU. May I know Senior's name? EZ asked. ZU was her title and EZ was her real name. Only people who were extremely close to her would address her by her real name. Feishue. Dongbua Shuang replied casually. Senior Feishue, I wonder if Senior Feishue has succeeded in killing the Blaze Valley Master? EZ asked. He is already dead. Dongbua Shuang said directly. The surrounding higher-ups of Sky Sword Mountain were all excited. The Blaze Valley Master was dead? The Valley Master and Deputy Valley Master of the Blaze Valley were already dead, so the remaining ones were nothing to worry about. He believed that those disciples of the Blaze Valley who were fleeing for their lives wouldn't dare to stay in their lair, and would quickly flee to other places. Blaze Valley, that had fought against their Heavenly Sword Mountain for so many years, was probably going to be destroyed just like that. Senior is truly powerful to be able to kill the Blaze Valley Master. I'm afraid your name will soon spread out. EZ said. Her eyes were brightening. This expert in front of her was at the same level as her father, and could easily become an overlord in the Nine-Cloud Great Land. She had to get closer to such an expert. For example, it would be even better if she could become his disciple and acknowledge him as her master. Just as many thoughts were running through EZ's mind, the black-robed middle-aged man who was suppressing the soul poison opened his eyes. He looked at Dongbua Shuang and asked, Brother Feishue, can you help me expel the soul poison? Dongbua Shuang was startled. Celestial Sword Clan, Aren't you afraid that I'll make a move on you? With Brother Feishua's strength, if you want to kill me, who among them can stop you? Celestial Sword Clan said, this silver silk soul-eating poison is too vicious. Previously, I had to endure the battle and was poisoned deeply. I'm not confident of suppressing it. That's why I need Brother Feishua's help. I'll try. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The others immediately gave way. Dongbua Shuang walked to the side of Celestial Sword Clan and sat down. He placed his hand on the shoulder of Celestial Sword Clan. At that moment, strands of ripples rapidly permeated into his body. Celestial Sword Clan did not resist at all. This ripple rapidly entered the sea of consciousness of Celestial Sword Clan and enveloped the soul of Celestial Sword Clan. So serious? Dongbua Shuang was slightly startled. The soul of Celestial Sword Clan had already been permeated by a large number of silver silk threads. They were densely packed like veins that covered his soul. If not for Dongbua Shuang, Celestial Sword Clan would not have been able to suppress it. In addition, it was too difficult to travel to the Nine-Cloud Great Land, and it was hard for him to find the antidote in a short period of time. He might really lose his life because of this. Brother Feishua, do your best. Celestial Sword Clan said. Dongbua Shuang carefully sent strands of ripples into the soul of the other party. Reaching the realm of Celestial Sword Clan, one's soul was extremely powerful. Even if one were to be sliced into 10 parts, the other 9 would be destroyed, and it would only be a small injury. Thus, the ripples that permeated into the soul of Celestial Sword Clan did not deal much damage. It was just that this silver silk soul-eating poison had completely permeated his soul, and it was extremely difficult to expel it. Chi, the control of Dongbua Shuaying's plate ripple diagram was extremely exquisite. He began restraining the silver silk threads. At the same time when he was expelling the soul poison, Dongbua Shuang was stealthily executing his secret technique. Wang. Because a large number of ripples had already permeated into the soul of Celestial Sword Clan, even though the secret technique had tunneled in, Celestial Sword Clan did not suspect anything. His soul did not have any reaction either. He is not a believer of the two great religions. Dongbua Shuang thought, but that's right. According to the intelligence, there should be very few local experts who have become believers of the two great religions. It is already fortunate that I could discover that the Blaze Valley Master and Vice Valley Master are believers. If the Sky Sword Mountain Sect Master is also a believer, that would be too much of a coincidence. Searching for believers was very troublesome. Firstly, those at the level of Blaze Valley Master and Celestial Sword Clan were at the 4th level Star Pagoda strength. It was impossible for Shuang to control and investigate them stealthily. He had to injure the other party in a direct battle and completely seal the other party's strength. Only then could he execute his secret technique. But this way, for an expert to suddenly appear in the Nine-Cloud Great Land and act against the overlords of various regions, this itself would easily arouse suspicion. The moment he was targeted by the two great religions, he could no longer stay in the Nine-Cloud Great Land for long. Secondly, if such an important believer died, the religion would immediately know about it. They would also investigate what exactly happened. Like this time, it was because the Blaze Valley took the initiative to attack the Sky Sword Mountain. The Sky Sword Mountain had an expert helping them, and it was normal for them to eliminate the Blaze Valley Master. If an unknown expert were to ambush the Blaze Valley and kill the Blaze Valley Master, it was fine if he killed one. But if there was a day when he killed another important believer, the religion would most likely become suspicious. Because they had to pay a huge price for a 4th level Star Pagoda expert to become a believer. If the believer at the bottom level died, then so be it. But such important believers were treated with great importance. Their status was even higher than that of ordinary sacred emissaries. I have to be careful in the battle between the two great religions and the 3 great sacred worlds. Dongbua Shuang thought, I must not be too brazen. Instead, I have to go along with the general trend. Like this time, he had conveniently eliminated the Blaze Valley Master. The soul poison of the Celestial Sword Clan was very troublesome, But Dongbui Shuang cultivated the strongest domain-type absolute art of the Holy Ground Great Void Heaven Temple. If he were to use his full strength, the time taken to brew a cup of tea would suffice. But he had patiently spent half a month before helping the Celestial Sword clan completely expel the soul poison. Hong Long, from the cultivation room, Dongbui Shuang and the Celestial Sword clan walked out. There was already a group of higher-ups from the Sky Sword sect waiting outside. That Lady Ez was there too. Ha ha ha, with Brother Feishue's help, I have completely expelled the soul poison. Ha ha ha. The Celestial Sword clan laughed out loud. Congratulations, sect head. Congratulations, sect head. The higher-ups of the Sky Sword sect were all extremely excited. Because the Celestial Sword clan was the pillar of the entire sect. Back then, he was the one who established the sect. Furthermore, the Grand Elder had died in battle. If the sect head were to die because of the soul poison, without a single peak Unity Realm expert, the Sky Sword sect would definitely split apart. Congratulations, Father. Thank you, Senior Feishue. Lady Ez said. All of you can leave now. I still have some matters to discuss with Brother Feishue. Ez, prepare some food. The Celestial Sword clan instructed. For the sect head's daughter to personally prepare food, one could see how much importance the Celestial Sword clan placed on Dongbui Shuang. Very soon. Everyone else in the courtyard left. Dongbui Shuang and the Celestial Sword clan sat facing each other. Brother Feishue, it's hard for me to repay you for saving my life. The Celestial Sword clan sighed. This time, they thought that they were finished. Even the sect was going to be annihilated. But now, everything had reversed. I might be able to help Brother Feishue with regards to the treasure cove of Emperor Julian. The Celestial Sword clan said. Emperor Julian's treasure cove? Dongbui Shuang was shocked. You didn't check the treasures left behind by the Blaze Valley Master? The Celestial Sword clan was puzzled as well. After I killed him, I have been helping you to expel the soul poison. I didn't have the time to check it. Dongbui Shuang said. Saying that, he immediately took out a storage wristband and refined it. Amidst the many items within the storage wristband, Dongbui Shuang soon found what he was looking for. It was a unique golden hairpin. Dongbui Shuang flipped his hand, causing a golden hairpin to appear. The treasure cove of Emperor Julian. Dongbui Shuang thought. His eyes brightened. Emperor Julian, he was an extremely famous cosmos god during the primitive ancient sacred world era. His strength was ranked in the front even amongst final realm existences. But in the final battle that caused the entire primitive ancient sacred world to shatter, Emperor Julian was heavily injured and died not long after. Clearly, his injuries were too severe. Strictly speaking, he died in the hands of Sacred Master. That time when the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, Emperor Julian's injuries were too severe. He knew that he would definitely die. Hence, before he died, he came to this nine-cloud great land that was flying deep into the primal chaos void and laid down 16 treasure coves on this great land. Furthermore, he threw down 30 golden hairpins on the nine-cloud great land and publicly spread the news. As long as one gathered 5 golden hairpins, the array would be activated and one would be teleported to one of the treasure coves. But, only void gods could enter, and at most 5 of them could enter. Every time after the teleportation, the golden hairpins would be scattered across the nine-cloud great land. Hence, over the long years, because there were a total of 30 golden hairpins and 5 golden hairpins, there were many experts who entered. There were even primal chaos experts who entered before. But it was hard to obtain any of the 16 treasure coves. Usually, one could only get a portion of it. But over the long years, more than half of the 16 treasure coves would have been emptied. But as long as the golden hairpins remained, it represented that there were still treasures. This was ultimately a final realm existence who was ranked in the front during the primitive ancient sacred world era. In terms of strength, he was much stronger than Void Primogenitor and Forefather Tianyu. You actually know that the Blaze Valley Master has a golden hairpin too? Dongbua Shuang looked at the Celestial Sword Clan in front of him with shock. That year, the previous Blaze Valley Master and I discovered 2 golden hairpins at the same time. The Celestial Sword Clan said, we agreed to have one each. Just as we split the golden hairpins, he ambushed me. Even though I did not have the intention to do so, I was still on guard in the dark. That battle ended with his death. But that battle was extremely bitter. During the process of him teleporting away, he hid the golden hairpins. Even though I chased after him and killed him, I could not find the golden hairpins at all. I guessed that he must have told his disciple where he hid the hairpins. After the previous Blaze Valley Master died, the Blaze Valley and my Sky Sword Mountain became mortal enemies. There are only 2 of them. We need 5 golden hairpins before we can activate the teleportation array. Dongbua Shuang said. He naturally desired for the treasures. What was the reason for him to come to the 9-Cloud Great Land? It was because of the treasures. For the sake of exchanging for the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate cores to help Jing Qiu and Yu it should be sufficient for him to obtain a small portion of the treasures left behind by Cosmos gods. Chapter 868. The Celestial Sword Clan was just about to say that when Miss Ez brought the delicacies and wine over. She was even personally pouring wine for Dongbua Shuang. Senior Feishue, this is the sword rain fruit wine that I personally brewed. I usually only let my father drink it. Saying that, she passed the cup to Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang chuckled as he took a sip. The moment he drank it, he knew that the price of this fruit wine would not be too high. He had tasted quite a few top-notch wines in the Great Void Heaven Temple. But this fruit wine was relatively rich. It made one feel intoxicated, and one could vaguely feel an illusory realm descending upon them. Interesting. Dongbua Shuang praised. This daughter of mine is quite talented in brewing wine. It's just that her talent in cultivation is slightly weak. She has only barely stepped into the Void God realm after much difficulty. The Celestial Sword Clan said. Dongbua Shuang softly shook his head after hearing that, it's already good enough. As long as she can become a true god, she will have an eternal lifespan. His wife and son were currently stuck at the stage 4 world deity realm. They were not even true gods. This was also the biggest knot in his heart. That's right. It's enough for her to have an eternal lifespan. The Celestial Sword Clan sighed. He had cultivated for a long time, and only his daughter was still alive. Ez, you can withdraw first. The Celestial Sword Clan ordered. Yes, father. Miss Ez obediently left. Only the 2 of them were left in the courtyard. Only then did the Celestial Sword Clan say, in order to enter the treasure cove of Emperor Jiuyun, you need 5 golden hairpins. You and I only have 2 golden hairpins. I have a good friend who knows of cultivators who can gather 3 golden hairpins. Naturally, he did not tell me which cultivators those 3 golden hairpins are. But as long as I gather 2, I can work together with him. Work together? Dongbua Shuang frowned. If we meet, will we be plotted against? Who knows if there might be primal chaos realm giants searching for the golden hairpins in the dark. Don't worry. The Celestial Sword Clan chuckled. If we want to meet, we'll definitely meet at the city constructed by Junyi Fazu. The closest city is the Pure Resistance City. In the Pure Resistance City, even primal chaos existences would not dare to act recklessly. Even the primal chaos giants from the 3 great sacred worlds and the 2 great religions would not dare to offend Junyi Fazu. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head. 9-Cloud Continent, the real master was Junyi Fazu after all. Even though he did not wish to participate in the battle between the 2 superpowers, he was not willing to see this 9-Cloud Great Land, which he lived in seclusion, being destroyed by the 2 superpowers. Thus, he set down many rules. For example, forbidding the construction of any spatial arrays. This made it hard for the nine-cloud Great Land to communicate with each other. Or for instance, he constructed a total of 12 cities scattered across the nine-cloud Great Land. Every city had an array that he personally constructed and an incarnation that he left behind to defend them. Under normal circumstances, the incarnation of a cosmos god could not kill the true body of a primal chaos realm giant. But it was different with the help of arrays within his territory. These 12 cities all had arrays personally refined by the ancestor of technique, and the incarnation of Jinyi Fazu was unparalleled within them. Furthermore, he even strictly forbade primal chaos existences from entering his cities. The reason why he constructed the cities was to leave behind a pure land, allowing powerful cultivators who had no intention of fighting to cultivate here peacefully. If you are willing, I'll inform that good friend of mine, the Celestial Sword Clan said. All right. It's the treasure cove of Emperor Julian. Naturally, I'll go if I can. Dongbua Shuang said. This is something that every cultivator in our nine-cloud Great Land desires. The Celestial Sword Clan chuckled as he contacted the other party. After a moment, he said, that side has agreed to meet us at the Pure Resistance City. Some of them are staying at the Pure Resistance City, and some are closer. It would take them at least 50 million years to reach. My side is slightly slower, taking 80 million years. Brother Feishue, for the sake of safety, you and I should travel separately. That way, it will be safer for both of us. All right. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He understood the other party's cautiousness. As long as they traveled separately, they would know which route they should take. The enemy could not even ambush them. The journey is long. I'll set off tomorrow. Dongbua Shuang said. I'll take 80 million years to travel, so you don't have to rush. The Celestial Sword Clan added. He still wanted his daughter to get closer to this expert. It would be even better if she could become the disciple of the other party. After all, he heard from his daughter that the other party had just broken through. Who knows, he might even improve further and become unparalleled in the Unity realm. A 5th-level star pagoda's strength was absolutely high even in the holy grounds of the 3 great sacred worlds. In the 9-cloud Great Land, as long as the primal chaos giants did not appear, they could simply walk unhindered. Even if the other party did not improve, he would still be comparable to his Celestial Sword Clan. Furthermore, the other party had saved his life. I've just come out of closed-door cultivation not long ago. I wish to take this opportunity to stroll around the world. Dongbua Shuang said. That's fine too. Then I won't keep Brother Feishue any longer. The Celestial Sword Clan chuckled. By then, we will meet at the Pure Resistance City and head to the treasure cove of Emperor Julian together. On the next day, Dongbua Shuang bade farewell and left. On the Sky Sword Mountain, Lady Ez was still slightly unwilling. She was filled with gratitude and admiration towards Dongbua Shuang. She wanted to take him as her teacher, but it's a pity that Dongbua Shuang left too decisively. In the following days, Dongbua Shuang walked around the great land of the 9-cloud Great Land. He would enjoy the scenery left behind by the fragment of the primitive ancient sacred world. Occasionally, he would sit cross-legged on the desolate plains to cultivate. When he met with some injustice, some devils would directly devour an entire village. Dongbua Shuang would directly act whenever he met with them. He would instinctively examine their souls before killing them. Occasionally, he would give pointers to some young fellows. In the blink of an eye, 50 million years passed. At the peak of the mountain range, within a wooden house, the white-robed Dongbua Shuang walked out. He frowned. I have clearly grasped all the profound mysteries of the second style of the dark world, yet I can't unleash it. Why is that so? After cultivating for 18 billion years in the Palace Hall of Time in the Great Void Heaven Temple, the less than 13 apocalyptic swords and the plate ripple diagram had been cultivated to the 5th-level Star Pagoda combat strength. Dongbua Shuang had even simplified the 5th apocalyptic sword into the new Fish Dragon Kill. As for the Tao of Mirage, which he had the highest talent in, Dongbua Shuang had long comprehended all the profound mysteries of the second style of Dark World, the Sky Punishment Edge. Yet he could not unleash it. He had even modified the first style, the dark bubble, several times, making it more suitable for himself. Now that he came to the nine-cloud great land, he had been roaming around for 50 million years. Yet he did not slack off in his cultivation. What's going on? I have clearly comprehended it, and this sky punishment edge technique doesn't baffle me at all. Yet I just can't unleash it. Dongbua Shuang felt awkward. I have already simplified the fifth apocalyptic sword and comprehended quite a bit of the sixth apocalyptic sword. According to this speed, I might not be able to unleash this sky punishment edge even after comprehending the sixth apocalyptic sword. Just like the absolute arts of the Great Void Heaven Temple, learning it meant learning it. But for the second style of the Dark World, he could not unleash it even though he had comprehended it. That Dark World Master did not explain it in the absolute art. Unless I have misunderstood it. Impossible. With my attainments in the Tao of Mirage, it is impossible for me to make such a low-grade mistake. Dongbua Shuang thought, there must be a problem somewhere. It is time to hurry. Let's go to the pure resistance city. Dongbua Shuang extended his senses. There were no cultivators in the surrounding 150 million kilometers. Hua! He waved his hand. A distorted time-space vortex that spanned 300 meters appeared in midair. Dongbua Shuang took a step and entered it. He entered the passage of the time-space vortex and began his journey. The nine-cloud great land was ultimately too vast. When the Celestial Sword clan chose to establish their sect, the Sky Sword Mountain, they would naturally try their best to get closer to one of the cities constructed by Junyi Fazu. The Sky Sword Mountain was considered relatively close to the pure resistance city. The Celestial Sword clan would need 80 million years to reach there. In the nine-cloud great land, traveling time was considered short. But it was different for Dongbua Shuang to travel through the time-space vortex. Just 300 years later, Dongbua Shuang stealthily appeared in a desolate and uninhabited area. He then traveled through the void for the time taken to brew a cup of tea before he saw a majestic ancient city in the distance. There were colorful lights revolving above the city. That was the light of an array. South Dongbua Shuang turned into a stream of light as he flew towards the city gates. He descended by the city gates and took a few steps before leaving the region of the city. There was also an array light revolving around the city gates. Being a Unity Realm expert, he was not rejected by this city created by a cosmos god. Today was the first day. Star. Chapter 869. The Pure Resistance City was a city constructed by the cosmos god, Junyi Fazu. The number and quality of cultivators gathered in this city was much higher than the Primal Chaos City under the Great Void Heaven Temple. Because the seven-star oceanic sacred world was relatively safer, the two great religions would at most send incarnations of Primal Chaos experts to sneak into the seven-star oceanic sacred world. Furthermore, those with sufficiently high statuses could directly report upwards. Like Forefather Tianyu, Devil Mountain Primogenitor and other final realm existences, they could directly send their incarnations down. Hence, some experts who reached the fifth-level star pagoda could occupy a territory in the three great sacred worlds and were not afraid of the two great religions. But the nine-cloud great land was different. The two great religions had primal chaos experts stationed here for a long period, and it was slightly less safe. Some who wanted to focus on cultivation were more willing to stay in the city constructed by Junyi Fazu and receive the protection of ancestor technique. Jia. Pushing open the courtyard door, the white-robed Dongbua Shuang walked out. The slowest Celestial Sword clan has finally arrived. He had just received the news that the Celestial Sword clan had sent him a message, asking him to gather at the assembly point. They were about to set off for the treasure cove of Emperor Joyan. In the Celestial Water City, there isn't a single fifth-level star pagoda expert, and there are only 3 fourth-level experts. Shuang looked at this city filled with grand aura and experts. He felt slightly rueful. After 30 million years, he was very familiar with the Pure Resistance City, and in the pure resistance city, there is 1 expert at the 5th level star pagoda strength, 12 experts at the 4th level strength, and many experts at the 3rd level strength, in terms of experts. There were naturally more in the sacred worlds. But the sacred worlds were scattered, and there were a bunch of primal chaos giants in the sacred worlds. Like the 7-star oceanic sacred world, other than the Great Void Heaven Temple, Primogenitor Island and Jade Light Sacred World, because the sacred world was too vast, there were many primal chaos superpowers in many desolate places, and more than half of the primal chaos giants were not willing to join a sacred ground. They would rather form their own faction, and nobody could control them. Like the Ancestor Desert Palace in the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world, they did not join a cosmos god. Dongbua Shuang traveled through the void within the city and soon, he arrived outside a courtyard. There was already a true deity puppet waiting at the entrance of the courtyard. The puppet stretched out a hand to stop them. Halt! 5, Dongbua Shuang said. This was the secret signal given by the Celestial Sword clan. Please. The puppet creature no longer obstructed them. Dongbua Shuang walked in. The courtyard was not very big. After passing through the front yard, they soon saw 3 figures gathered in a large hall. However, Dongbua Shuang did not recognize any of them. Brother Feishua. The Celestial Sword clan sent a voice transmission. I'm already here. The one on the left wearing the golden robe is me. Why haven't you changed your appearance? Dongbua Shuang was still dressed in a white robe and had white hair, and was wearing a silver mask. In this meeting, everyone else will change their auras and appearances to try their best not to expose their true identities. Otherwise, if the news of us obtaining the treasures were to spread, it would attract a lot of trouble. The Celestial Sword clan transmitted. After this, if I successfully obtain the treasures, I will stay in the pure resistance city. At most, I will send my incarnation back to the Sky Sword Mountain. You should be more cautious and not expose your identity. Brother Sky Sword, please don't blame me. My current appearance is already me changing my aura and appearance. After all, when I interfered in the matter between you and the Blaze Valley Master, I did not have full confidence. I do not wish to fail and offend the Blaze Valley Master. Dongbua Shuang transmitted. At this moment, the golden-robed Celestial Sword clan was a little stunned. Good fellow, this Feishua wasn't his true appearance. The 4th is here. In the hall, 3 were seated. Other than the golden-robed Celestial Sword clan, there was another black-robed figure that was shrouded in a faint black fog. It was hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. The 3rd was a burly man with exceptionally thick arms. His thighs were considered normal, but his arms were thicker than his thighs. He was emitting a ruthless aura. Sit. The burly man said. We are waiting for the last person. Dongbua Shuang didn't continue chatting. He chose a seat and sat down. The 4 figures in the hall were silent. Because everyone was clear that they were only gathered to use each other's golden hairpins. Furthermore, after entering the treasures, they would become competitors. Killing each other for the treasures was something that happened frequently in the legends. Hence, everyone maintained their vigilance and didn't even want to expose their identities. In just a short moment, the last figure appeared. It was a lady in loose gray robes. This lady displayed an ordinary appearance. However, her eyes contained a formless pressure. Dongbua Shuang looked through her eyes and his heart couldn't help but tremble. 3rd level of spirit. The spirit could be divided into 3 great levels. Even though his hometown cosmos had produced some void gods, only the Sword Master and Ancestor Devil had reached the 3rd level of spirit. Dongbua Shuang might have a high comprehension ability, but after coming to the Holy Ground, the Great Void Heaven Temple, he had experienced too little. Most of the time, he was in closed-door cultivation, and did not have any huge breakthroughs in his spirit. Like Ancestor Devil and the Sword Master, the 2 were enemies in the past. Ancestor Devil was stronger in the early stages, and later on, the Sword Master's strength became more profound, to the point that he had cast Ancestor Devil off completely. Ancestor Devil treated the Sword Master as his enemy, and eventually broke through in his heart realm. The two of them were still competitors. Dongbua Shuang had much less experience compared to the two of them. This girl has reached the third level of spirit, yet she isn't restraining herself. Is it because she is absolutely confident? Dongbua Shuang was inwardly startled. If the other party was deliberately restraining herself, he would not be able to discover how frightening her willpower was. All right, everyone is here. The muscular man stood up. He merely shot a glance at the loose gray-robed woman who arrived last, and did not pay much attention to her. This was because one's spirit realm was high. It did not mean that one's strength was high. Some cultivation systems placed more emphasis on the spirit realm, such as witchcraft and laws and profound mysteries. Some, however, did not place much emphasis on it, such as the Devour class system, bloodline system, etc. None of you have brought any living beings with you in your grotto heavens, right? The muscular man said in a low voice. His voice was filled with pressure. The golden hairpin teleportation array can only send 5 living beings. If our grotto heavens bring other living beings with us, the teleportation will fail. No. Of course not. We all know that. All of them responded. The golden-robed celestial sword clan said, "Why don't you take out your golden hairpins?" And then, none of them hesitated. With a flip of their hands, a golden hairpin appeared in each of the 5's hands. This allowed everyone to relax. Although they could only communicate with each other through a single line, they were still worried that something might go wrong if they did not see it with their own eyes. Activate. The 5 immediately controlled their void divine power to activate the golden hairpins in their hands. Wang! 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 After the 5 golden hairpins were activated, faintly discernible and mysterious golden veins appeared on the surface of the golden hairpins. Dongbua Shuang only felt that the golden hairpins in his hands were no longer under his control. A terrifying spatial might cause the golden hairpins to forcefully break free from his control. The 5 golden hairpins all flew up into the air. When they flew into the air of the hall, their golden veins immediately formed a terrifying spatial array. At this moment, the space was like flowing water. Dongbua Shuang felt extremely comfortable as he passed through the flowing water space. When the scenery in front of him became clear, he had already arrived at another place. This place was extremely far away from Chunyu City. Dongbua Shuang and the other 4 were standing on a rocky beach. A few li behind them was a vast expanse of whiteness. Even the space was faintly distorted. In front of them, there was a towering golden pagoda. Treasure Cove God Pagoda. The muscular man with thick arms couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. It's the Treasure Cove God Pagoda. We are finally here. The figure shrouded in black fog said. His voice was slightly sharp. Dongbua Ying's eyes were also emitting light as he looked at that towering God Pagoda that was close to 3,000 meters tall. Treasure Cove God Pagoda. In the past, before the death of the Cosmos God Emperor Jiuyun, he had left behind 16 treasure coves. They were 16 Treasure Cove God Pagoda. The Treasure Cove God Pagoda was hidden in different unique spatial zones in different regions of the 9-Cloud Great Land. With the strength of Emperor Jiuyun, he could easily set up a place that other cosmos gods could not find. It was pointless even if the entire 9-Cloud Great Land was destroyed because these 16 Treasure Cove God Pagoda were not located in the ordinary world of the 9-Cloud Great Land. This was a vast expanse of whiteness spanning several dozen kilometers. At the center of this space was the God Pagoda. Information rapidly appeared in the mind of Dongbua Shuang. To leave. There were 2 methods. One was to fly towards the end of the vast expanse of whiteness. By touching that white distorted space, one would be teleported back to the ordinary world of the 9-Cloud Great Land. The other method was to stay in this space for 3 days. Once the 3 days were up, even if one was unwilling to leave, he would be teleported out. I have to get sufficient treasures within 3 days. Dongbua Shuang looked at the Treasure Cove God Pagoda in front of him. His eyes turned sharp. As long as he could earn a huge profit this time, Jing Qiu and Yu would have sufficient materials to aid their cultivation. This time, nobody could stop him. Dongbua Shuang was filled with desire. The other 4 were similarly filled with desire. This was the treasure cove of a cosmos god. So. As the loose gray-robed girl flew out, the others turned into streams of light and flew towards the open door of the treasure cove god pagoda at the center. Even though he had tried many times, he still wanted to make a comeback. Star. Chapter 870. The pagoda door of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda was simple and unadorned. At this moment, it was fully opened. The door was about 300 meters tall. Dongbua Shuang and the other 4 entered the Treasure Cove God Pagoda one after another. We have entered the final realm existence, Emperor Julian's Treasure Cove. Dongbua Shuang stood on the black ground. Above him was a piece of darkness. Amidst the darkness, there were many twinkling stars. Dongbua Shuang was clear that those twinkling stars were the treasures of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda. There were treasures hidden within, though this was merely the treasures on the first level. The Treasure Cove God Pagoda was split into 3 levels. Usually, there would only be 2 to 3 treasures on the 3rd level. But they were all important to Emperor Julian, and their value was extremely high. Any one of them was sufficient to make primal chaos giants go crazy with greed. Hua! Suddenly, many void stairs began forming within the pagoda. These void stairs extended upwards, and soon reached the highest point, touching the dark sky. Furthermore, at the end of the void stairs, there was an ancient stone door. There were a total of 5 void stairs that corresponded to 5 sets of stone doors. Go! South, Dongbua Shuang, the Celestial Sword Clan, the muscular male, the black-fogged figure, and the loose gray-robed girl were all walking along the void stairs. This law suppression is truly formidable. Dongbua Shuang walked on the void stairs. He attempted to float his body, yet he was suppressed by the unseen law, forcing him to walk step by step. From the outside, the Treasure Cove God Pagoda was only about 3,000 meters tall. But the space within was huge. Just the first level of the void stairs was already 50 kilometers long. Wang! Dongbua Shuang flew up the stairs at an extremely fast speed. He had turned into an afterimage, and in the blink of an eye, he had traveled 20 to 15 kilometers. Pang! He clashed against the unseen void barrier. Only at this moment did the void barrier appear. There are a total of 3 barriers on the void stairs. Even if you break through the 3 barriers, you still have to destroy the stone door before you can enter the 2nd level. Don't be anxious. The black-fogged figure on another flight of stairs let out a sharp voice. Dongbua Shuang could not be bothered with him. The information he had obtained from the Great Void Heaven Temple was very detailed. Of course, he knew that the violent collision just now was just to test the toughness of the barrier. He wanted to see if he could break through it directly. That way, he would be able to break through all the other barriers. Break! A divine sword appeared in Dongbua Shuang's hand, and sword light flashed. Pu, Piu, 3 consecutive strikes landed on the void barrier. Hua! The void barrier shattered. At this time, the other 4 also attacked the void barrier one after another. Soon, the first layer of the barrier was broken. Whoosh! In the dark sky of the first level of the Treasure God Pagoda, one of the resplendent stars suddenly fell down. Dongbua Shuang's eyes lit up. His arm expanded abruptly as he reached out to grab the star. However, his arm only managed to extend for 10 li before it was stopped by an invisible barrier. That's mine. The muscular man's thick arm also swelled in size. In just a few kilometers, he had grabbed the star. The moment he touched it, the surface of the star that was emitting light shattered, revealing a shard of a blade floating inside. It was a silvery white blade, and just looking at it would cause one's heart to tremble. Unfortunately, it was only a shard. It should be a fragment of a peak-grade void god weapon. Dongbua Shuang immediately deduced. Its value should be around 30 to 50 origin world rocks. Dongbua Shuang and the other four continued to advance. Occasionally, a star would descend from the dark sky. As long as one touched it, the star would dissipate, revealing the treasures within. The value of the treasures varied. The lower ones were worth a few origin world rocks, while the higher ones were worth close to 100 origin world rocks. Pooh! Pooh! Dongbua Shuang didn't care too much about these treasures. Because these were merely the treasures of the first level. Usually, only those weaker cultivators would come here by chance and stay for a long period of time. Hua! 3 consecutive sword lights slammed onto the void barrier, and the third and final layer of the void barrier collapsed completely. Dongbua Shuang turned into a shadow as he charged towards the end of the staircase. The end of the staircase was connected to the sky, and there was an ancient stone door there. Boom! Dongbua Shuang was the first among the 5 to reach the stone door. The sharp sword in his hand instantly turned into a sword light as it slashed towards the stone door in front of him. Hong long long, the sword light slashed down furiously, causing the stone door to tremble violently. Large amounts of stone fragments flew up, and cracks started to appear on the door. Just as Dongbua Shuang slashed down on the stone door, the brightest star in the dark sky suddenly fell down, turning into a dazzling light as it flew towards Dongbua Shuang. At this moment, although Dongbua Shuang was slashing at the stone door furiously, his attention was focused on the star that was flying towards him. Moreover, the other 4 cultivators in the Treasure God Pagoda were also staring at the star. Since they had obtained the golden hairpin, they would naturally try their best to gather information about Emperor Julian's treasures. They also knew that in the first level of the Treasure God Pagoda, the first cultivator to attack the stone door would immediately cause a star to fall. The treasure contained within this star would be the most valuable of all the stars in the first level. How arrogant! This treasure is too valuable. Isn't he afraid that he won't be able to bring it out alive? The muscular man and the rest watched silently from afar. They were very clear that the other cultivators in the treasure vault were all competitors. Hence, they would rather keep a low profile and not be the first to snatch the most valuable treasures in the first level. Because even the most valuable treasures in the first level were considered high-quality treasures in the second level. If there were any terrifying experts hidden within this group of 5, they might even make a move. This time, they had a total of 3 days in the Treasure God Pagoda. They were very patient. Those who were too flamboyant at the start would not be able to live long. Who? The white-robed Dongbua Shuang stared at the incoming star under the silver mask as he stretched out his left hand. The moment the star came into contact with Dongbua Shuang's finger, the star disappeared like a bubble, revealing the item within. It was a piece of withered wood with the thickness of an arm. There were even golden whiskers on the withered wood. The withered wood exuded an aura. Wherever it was, it seemed to contain boundless vitality. Golden whisker sky thunder wood. Dongbua Shuang's eyes lit up, and his heartbeat quickened. The other 4 cultivators also held their breaths as they stared at the withered wood with their tongues tied. Golden whisker sky thunder wood, during the era of the primitive ancient sacred world, it might be worth close to 1,000 origin world rocks. It required the operating law of the primitive ancient sacred world to send down sky thunder to strike the golden whisker god tree. Most golden whisker god trees would be struck to death and turn into ashes. Only a few would remain with a withered wood that was filled with boundless vitality. But the primitive ancient sacred world had shattered, and no new golden whisker sky thunder wood could be born. Cosmos gods had long wanted the golden whisker sky thunder wood. This golden whisker sky thunder wood could be used to refine weapons, to create worlds, or to refine pills, after the destruction of the primitive ancient sacred world for countless years, this piece of golden whisker sky thunderwood was worth 3,000 origin world stones. That time, Emperor Joyin felt that it was worth close to 1,000 origin world rocks, and treating it as one of the 2 or 3 most important treasures on the first level was normal. But now, its value was much higher than when Emperor Joyin was still alive. Its value is so high. Dongbui Shui Ying's heartbeat accelerated. A treasure worth 3,000 origin world rocks would be considered a final treasure even if it was placed on the second level of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda. It was enough to make Primal Chaos Realm giants covet it. This piece of withered wood was much more valuable than all the treasures he had on him. The treasures of a cosmos god were indeed different. Dongbui Shuang extended his hand and grabbed. This golden whisker sky thunder wood was tightly held in his hand. Following that, he kept it into his storage treasure with a thought. Chapter 871. Even Primal Chaos Realm giants were envious. Dongbui Shuang, who was an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple, felt his heart palpitating, much less the other 4 cultivators. It's worth 3,000 origin world rocks. It's worth 3,000 origin world rocks. The eyes of the Celestial Sword clan were about to turn red. Even though Dongbui Shuang had saved his life, he still had an intense impulse to kill the other party and snatch his treasures. Because the value was sufficient to drive him slightly mad. But firstly, he had a bottom line and was not willing to act against his benefactor. Hence, he had to suppress his impulse no matter how strong it was. Secondly, he was not confident even if he acted. He knew his limits. 3,000 origin world rocks. The Celestial Sword clan and the other 3 cultivators felt their hearts trembling. What did this mean? A protective treasure like the Black Gourd was only worth 500 origin world rocks. 3,000 origin world rocks could be used to purchase a better protective treasure than the Black Gourd. Be it its power or survivability, it would greatly increase. If the Celestial Sword clan and the others bought a treasure stronger than the Black Gourd, they would be unparalleled beneath the Primal Chaos Realm. Even if they were extravagant enough to buy a puppet life form, 3,000 origin world rocks would buy a puppet life form with the strength of a 5th-level Star Pagoda expert. Furthermore, these puppet life forms had a huge advantage over cultivators. For instance, they had an almost unbreakable body, absolute loyalty, and could work without complaint. Furthermore, they could choose different types of puppet life forms. Some specialized in escaping, and some specialized in offense. The muscular male, the black-fogged figure, and the gray-robed girl were staring at Dongbui Shuang from afar like they were looking at their prey. Humph, he is really lucky to get such a precious treasure at the first level of the Treasure Cove. The eyes of the muscular male dilated. A faint cold light flashed in his eyes. I have thought wrongly. I thought that the first level isn't worth mentioning, and that the main point is the second level. Who would have thought that I would miss out on such a treasure? If I want to get it, I have to snatch it from his hands. The gray-robed girl was not in a rush to act. Instead, that black-fogged figure abruptly flew down the void stairs. Because the void barrier had been broken, that black-fogged figure had practically reached the ground in the blink of an eye. Following that, he rapidly ascended the void stairs where Dongbui Shuang was at. He's going to make a move. The entire atmosphere at the first level of the Treasure Cove had solidified. The Celestial Sword clan, the muscular male, and the gray-robed girl were watching this scene silently. They did not intervene. This was within their expectations. The treasures within the Treasure Cove God Pagoda were not easily obtained. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to enter the third level. Only Primal Chaos giants could enter. Merely in the first 2 layers of the treasury, being able to obtain a treasure worth 3,000 origin world stones was already considered very lucky. Even if he left immediately after obtaining the golden whisker sky thunder wood, this trip to Emperor Joyin's treasure would be worth it. Dongbua Shuang kept the golden whisker sky thunderwood. He could feel the gazes of the other cultivators on him. Only the Celestial Sword clan's gazes were not hostile, but they were filled with envy and jealousy. The hostility of the other three was very strong. This time, I came to the Treasure Cove God Pagoda in hopes of obtaining more than 10,000 Origin World Stones so that I can purchase 2 sets of Scarlet Cloud pomegranate cores. Dongbua Shuang thought. Previously, I wasn't confident. But now that I've obtained the precious golden whisker sky thunderwood, if I were to enter the second level, with my strength and luck, I might be able to gather more than 10,000 Origin World Stones. You want to snatch the treasure? Dongbua Shuang looked at the bottom of this void stairway. That black fogged figure was currently rushing over. Hand over the golden whisker sky thunderwood, and I'll spare your life. The black fogged figure rushed over. His sharp voice reverberated across the entire first level. His voice was so ear-piercing that it caused the space to tremble. This is my void stairway. You are walking on the wrong path. Dongbua Shuang said, if you retreat now, you can still live. If you were to act foolishly, only death awaits you. The black fogged figure suddenly stopped. His body turned illusory. Many other bodies were formed from his body. Dongbua Shuang only felt that the black fogged figure in front of him had turned into 19 figures. All of their auras were exactly the same, and they seemed to be his true body. Undying City Master. The Celestial Sword clan, the muscular male, and the grey-robed girl were greatly startled when they saw this. It's him. Undying City Master. Dongbua Shuang was able to guess the other party's origins. In the entire 9-Cloud Great Land, there were very few Unity Realm experts who reached the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. And Undying City Master was one of them. He was an ancient cultivator, and his talent was called Myriad Beings. He could replicate his true body. This Undying City Master could replicate 18 true bodies at a time. Adding up the original one, he had a total of 19 bodies. All 19 bodies were exactly the same as his true body. Even his soul had been replicated. One had to know that most would not have avatars after becoming a void god. Even amongst the high and mighty final realm existences, Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother did not have avatars. Only Myriad Realm Tavern Master had many avatars. But the avatars of Myriad Realm Tavern Master were fundamentally different from this Unity Realm Undying City Master. Myriad Realm Tavern Master had more avatars, and every avatar was slightly weaker. As for Undying City Master, he relied entirely on his ancient cultivation talent to replicate his true body. If he became a cosmos god in the future, he could similarly replicate his true body. One could see how terrifying he was. With just one body, he only had the strength of the 4th level Star Pagoda strength. But with 19 of them working together, their minds were connected, and they immediately rose to the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. He actually came. The muscular male frowned. This is going to be troublesome. It is actually Undying City Master. I think it is more important for us to survive. Let's give up. The Celestial Sword clan shouted. He was still quite concerned about Dongbua Shuang. He immediately shouted out. With Undying City Master around, there is no hope for that golden whisker sky thunderwood. The grey-robed girl shook her head silently. Undying City Master was an extremely famous expert in the 9-Cloud Great Land. His deterrence was formidable. Even though he could only maintain 19 bodies for a short period of time, that was enough for 1 to 2 days. Just for battles, it was sufficient. It was sufficient just for combat. Furthermore, as long as one of the 19 bodies survived, he would be able to give birth to more. That was why he called himself Undying. Originally, I wasn't in a rush to reveal my identity. But who would have thought that there would be such a treasure on the 1st level? I gave you a chance previously, yet you didn't want it. Now, it is useless even if you kowtow and beg me. Just die. The 19 Undying City Masters stood in a row on the void stairs. Above them, an enormous octagonal black array appeared. This was a terrifying array that could only be maintained by 19 bodies controlling it at the same time. The moment it appeared, its power caused the expressions of other cultivators to change. Who would have thought that Undying City Master is here too? That white-haired sword-using fellow is dead for sure. The muscular male shook his head. A huge black iron axe appeared in his hand as he hacked down on the stone door in front of him. Hong, 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 he hacked down on the stone door, causing large amounts of shattered rocks to fly out. Brother Feishua, hurry up and admit defeat and escape. You might still have a chance of survival if you escape now. Celestial Sword Clan transmitted anxiously, he is too powerful. Furthermore, as long as one of the 19 bodies survives, the other bodies will be born rapidly. If you can't kill him, he will kill you. Can't kill him? Dongbo Shuang looked at the 19 figures shrouded in black fog, 19 bodies. Wouldn't it be fine if I destroy them all at once? Within his storage treasure, there were a large number of flying daggers. They were the set of flying dagger weapons that he bought in the Great Void Heaven Temple, Frost Shadow. A total of 3,600 of them. However, with his attainments in Fish Dragon Kill, he could only activate 1,200 of them at maximum power. However, it was already sufficient. In the eyes of Undying City Master, Celestial Sword Clan, and the grey-robed lady who were spectating from afar, densely packed weapons that were circulating with purple radiance appeared above the void staircase. Those purple radiance were the termination energy. Among them, 300 flying daggers were revolving around Dongbo Shuang to protect him. Dongbo Shuang stood at the highest point of the staircase and looked down at the 19 figures of Undying City Master, go. Instantly, 900 flying daggers whizzed over like a storm. Every flying dagger merely left behind a purple trace. The countless purple traces were like the traces of a painting brush in the void. It was magnificent. Dongbo Shuang didn't care about the black array that was about to descend. He only cared about attacking. Attack? He is so confident. Celestial Sword Clan and the rest were puzzled. Although Dongbo Shuaying's moves were cool, it didn't mean that his might was strong. This white-robed white-haired male was obviously at the Unity Realm. A Unity Realm wanted to fight against Undying City Master head-on. Boom! Only Undying City Master who was truly facing the threat of these flying daggers felt his heart turning cold. Not good, I have met my match. Undying City Master immediately understood. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.